Yeah, hey, fuck you Pelosi, fuck you Kamala. Ain't no Bill back, better fuck you Obama. Fuck all them Clintons and fuck Biden too. If it's let's go, Brandon, hell, fuck Brandon too. Say it with me now. Fuck Joe Biden. Yeah, fuck Joe Biden. Yeah, fuck Joe Biden. Yeah, if Biden got the country yelling, fuck Joe Biden. Here's a message for Biden's administration of tyrants, yeah. I know you try to keep us patriots quiet, you a dictator. Demander and thief, had to cheat. Ain't no one vote you commander in chief. All these people want us money and power, and it's silence us, but we ain't backing down, we ain't cowards, and there's a lot of us. Now you can't lie to me, hurting the whole economy. All for your evil agenda, want us to bottom feed. Sleepy Joe, worst president we ever seen. When the news say the most popular, man, what you mean? And while you're ranting and raving, saying you're losing your patience, to blaming unvaccinated cause people dying. Why is Hunter Biden down in the basement? He's smoking crack cause he really a baser. That's your son, right? Oh, why you never talk about the millions he made overseas and brought it back to the stage? Y'all heard of Trader Joe Pelosi, fuck you Kamala. Ain't no Bill back, better fuck you Obama. Fuck all them Clintons and fuck Biden too. If it's let's go, Brandon, hell, fuck Brandon too. Say it with me now. Fuck Joe Biden. Yeah, fuck Joe Biden. Yeah, fuck Joe Biden. Yeah, if Biden got the country yelling, fuck Joe Biden. Hey, Kamala Harris, you equally evil. Yeah, I hope you see this, don't want you or need you. Most the government, they only ran by some demons. They plotting and scheming to take the American dream and destroy the whole meaning. Don't tell me you don't see it. Turn off the news, dog, don't tell me you believe it. Y'all just trying to steal the 2022 election. Ain't no Democrats ever being re-elected. It's how I feel about your mandates. I ain't getting no bags, I ain't wearing no mask. Walking through the stores, try to bother me, I might beat your ass. I see a lot of wolves, now I know the sheep won't last. I call a spade, I ain't just hating on Biden. I love my country, dog, this isn't just the ways that I'm riding. Fighting for freedom, nah, I ain't doing for clout. If it really come down to a boy, I'm about. Fuck you Pelosi, fuck you Kamala. Ain't no Bill back, better fuck you Obama. Fuck all them Clintons and fuck Biden too. If it's let's go, Brandon, hell, fuck Brandon too. Say it with me now. Fuck Joe Biden. Yeah, fuck Joe Biden. Yeah, fuck Joe Biden. Yeah, if Biden got the country yelling, fuck Joe Biden.
Mr. Vice President, I'm going off script again, I know, but I just want to personally thank you. We've been through some stuff. We've gone through some of the most complex military operations this country's ever conducted, and your steady hand and your leadership during those was a great source of strength for me. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your character. Thank you for your selfless service. Thank you for commitment. Thank you for being a mentor to me, Mr. Vice President.
It's called the swamp. And you know what happened? And you know what I did? A big favor. I caught the swamp. I caught them all. Let's see what happens. Nobody else could have done that but me. I caught all of this corruption that was going on, and nobody else could have done it. Did I get that one right? Every 4 years, we gather on these steps to carry out the orderly and peaceful transfer of power. Today's ceremony, however, has very special meaning, because today we are not merely transferring power from one administration to another, but we are transferring power from Washington, D.C., and giving it back to you, the people. For too long, a small group in our nation's capital has reaped the rewards of government, while the people have borne the cost. Washington flourished, but the people did not share in its wealth. This American carnage stops right here and stops right now. The forgotten men and women of our country will be forgotten no longer. From this day forward, a new vision will govern our land. From this day forward, it's going to be only America first.
This is a president of the United States who is a danger to the Republic.
America first.
He knows he's an illegitimate president.
The oath of office I take today is an oath of allegiance to all Americans.
The great Trump recovery.
America will never be a socialist country. I will fight for you with every breath in my body.
Russia, Russian, pro-Russian, Russian, Russia, Russian, 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 the Russians, Russian.
Russia.
And I will never, ever let you down.
A dangerous virus is spreading rapidly in China, and U.S. officials are very worried that it could come here.
This is really the worst attack we've ever had. This is worse than Pearl Harbor. This is worse than the World Trade Center. There's never been an attack like this. The time for empty talk is over. Now arrives the hour of action. What they're doing is using COVID to steal an election. Together, we will make America strong again. You know what it's about? Fraud, fake ballots. We will make America wealthy again. They are trying to steal the election.
Now, under the leadership of President Trump, we are fully realizing President Kennedy's prescient view of Special Operations Forces.
We will make America proud again. And watch, please, those mail-in ballots. We will make America safe again. And in millions and millions of ballots. Their vote is under what they thought they needed. They're dumping more ballots in there, okay? And yes, together, we will make America great again. Thank you. God bless you. If we are right about the fraud, Joe Biden can't be president.
Congress, the chair declares the joint session dissolved.
And God bless America. Calm before the storm.
What storm, Mr. President?
You'll find out. And by the way, I noticed a patriot in our midst. A man that knows me almost better than any human being. He knows every inch of me. And he thinks it's actually a very beautiful sight. That's why I like it. That's why I like it. John, whoa, he's popular. Where's John? Look at John. Where is John? Great. John, you're popular, John. Wow. If he didn't eat junk food, he'd live for 200 years.
Here's the moment you've all been waiting for. Here is Devolution. With Patel Patriot.
The best is yet to come.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Patel Patriot Devolution Power Hour. Okay, can you guys hear me? Some people are saying turn on microphone. Some people are not. I sound muffled. What is going on? Okay. Well, most people
Well, while I talk muted from the throwback very first episode of the Power Hour, welcome everybody to the 400th episode of the Devolution Power Hour, and we're making it a special little celebratory episode by having both of my co-hosts here. How are you two doing this evening?
Solid. Chris wasn't convinced as to how solid he was doing. When
I don't know about that. Burning Bright said that his horrors are persisting.
That's true. But I said that some are better than others. Yeah. It was a brief exchange when you were off screen, but...
that's probably a change in my shorts.
Yeah.
Well, because I was going to ask how the horrors
particularly voidish tonight, Chris.
Thank you.
Man, it is so weird seeing that intro.
The throwback?
The, like you in your little back room.
Oh, I know. That was in the basement at my old house. That was like literally September of 2021. Long time
Aren't
ago.
you still in a basement technically now, but in the house that you actually own?
Yes.
This time.
Well,
wait, you didn't start Devolution till September, like the DPH until then? I thought you did it. I thought you were already doing it when I was at the Cyber Symposium in August that year.
So I had started on Twitch. I think it was August, but I didn't upload it to Rumble until September. So that's, I think, the very first like Rumble Power Hour was September. Because when was this? You were my second guest. I went back and looked. You were the second, like on the second show that I have on Rumble. It was an interview with you right after the symposium.
I'm like a founder or something.
Yeah, you're definitely a co-founder. Yeah. Burning Bright, we'll see. We'll see how the night the night goes. So funny. But yeah, this is we haven't done a three-way show like this since a GART probably.
I'd say so.
We probably only did one ever.
Yeah.
You think so?
We've done at least one like on stream, because Chris and I have done a couple that you weren't on, like with Ghost.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, we've probably only done one.
Yeah, Burning Bright would have had to have come on Saturday when Patrick might have missed. I think that we did one of those, but
I don't remember.
Probably.
I don't know. But anyway, it'll be interesting. I didn't, actually Trump gave us I think he gave us a few posts tonight. I don't remember which one of you said that, but he definitely teed us up for a discussion, which I think
Chris
will be good. Chris teed us up for a discussion too with one of his posts that he thinks is censored, and I think we need to get it uncensored by talking about it. We got some Russia stuff, a little whiplash going on. We could probably discuss that a little bit. I did talk for about a half an hour on my show today about how boring the news day was. Like, I feel like there was just nothing really exciting happening. That's probably because the government shut down. Nothing fun can happen when the government shut down. So that's probably why. But yeah, we'll see what happens.
Second longest ever, right? Are we how far is what's it 35 days is the record?
I think so. Trump's first term 2018 is the record, I believe.
Those are rookie numbers. I feel like we can get over that.
Chat's hopping though tonight. It's nice to see. A lot of good rants
rolling. Very generous early on. Appreciate that. Appreciate everybody being very generous the last few days with everybody on Badlands, which is really great. We all very much appreciate it for all of you.
Hell yeah. I do have another old throwback clip I want to play, but I don't know if I should play it now. It's a little longer. It's back when we announced the creation of Badlands. It's like 2 minutes or something, but we can probably save that. We could get into our sponsors. I don't know.
All right.
It's kind of winging it. I started drinking some whiskey tonight to celebrate, so
congratulations.
I feel
Me
like
too. I never do that.
I usually actually don't. Actually, last Friday I drank whiskey during that stream, but normally I don't drink at home.
It's going well so far, guys.
Yeah,
I drink everywhere, so it just is what it is at this point.
Okay, well, let's do this. I'm gonna get a quick word from our sponsors. I'm gonna play that throwback clip from the announcement of Badlands, just because I think it'd be worth it. It's from a different basement. Then we'll have all three basements I've ever streamed from in the one stream, and then we can talk about the Trump post and the fake elections, because he basically retweeted you or retruthed you, Chris Paul. That's
plagiarism, I would say. Close to idea theft.
It's about as close as you can get. He didn't quite say real awful American votes, but he pretty much did. But anyway,
he'll get there.
Quick word from CBDistillery. You know those nights when you just don't sleep and the next day you're dragging, exhausted, everything feels just that much harder? That's where CBD from CBDistillery can make a real difference. But it's not just sleep. CBDistillery has solutions that work with your body to help with stress, pain, and exercise. Pain after exercise. Even mood and focus. And it's all made with the highest quality clean ingredients, no fillers, just premium CBD. Imagine waking up rested or enjoying your day without those nagging aches and pains. That's the real win of CBDistillery solutions. That's why over 2 million people trust CBDistillery. I personally am a huge fan of the sleep one, just FYI. If you're ready for better sleep, less stress, feeling good in your own skin again, whatever it may be, go to CBDistillery.com and you can save 25% off your entire purchase if you use code DPH. That's CBDistillery.com, promo code DPH. Specific product availability depends on individual state regulations. We also got Save Pulse. Today's show is also sponsored by Save Pulse. Save Pulse is dedicated to keeping you and your family healthy with top quality medications like amoxicillin, azithromycin, ivermectin, and hydroxychloroquine at unbeatable prices. The streamlined ordering process makes it easy to stock up on all your health essentials. And now with exciting news about fenbendazole showing promise in cancer research, they proudly offer this alongside antibiotics and other viral care meds. So don't wait. Prepare for any health scenario today. Get your supply and stay ahead of the curve with Save Pulse. Visit badlandsmedia.tv/meds. Use promo code SAVEHEALTH at checkout to get a 20% discount on orders over $100. And please note that some packages have been held up in customs recently, and they're blaming it on the government shutdown. So just note that if you order, all of them that are held up will be, get to their destination. Eventually, it just takes a little longer.
Mike Johnson's package has been held up with the government shutdown.
Really?
How many
Which one?
packages is this now?
Yeah, I don't know. It's held up by its own force.
Just the gravitational pull of Mike Johnson's package. Every failed package gets that much more dense.
Oh my gosh.
It goes up and it does not come down without medical care if it goes longer than 4 hours.
Wow. Did you see that Malarkey guy or whatever? He gave a speech today for 12 hours or something about how Donald Trump is a threat to democracy from the Senate floor.
Is a Malarkey guy like a new classification of?
I think his name's Malarkey, right?
I think his last name is like Merkley or something, but yeah.
Isn't he yeah, he's a senator.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but I just thought that was funny because he's such a threat that the way you defeat threats to democracy is by speaking for as long as possible without interruption.
That's what I've been trying to do the whole time I've been here.
You are the threat to democracy defender, burning bright. Man, I had a thought I don't remember. What was I gonna do?
About packages?
It might have been about packages. They have voted like 1 million times on different things, but nothing's passed. The Democrats. Do you see that clip? I think you sent it to me, Chris. That clip of the senator who's like, it's really the only leverage we have left.
Yes. I don't know that I sent that to you, but it is very funny. It's that lady, that crazy lady who she's one of the Democrat leaders, and I think it was her son or her daughter, or her son who thinks he's her daughter, who's like
one of those
Antifa activist who got arrested.
Yeah, let's listen to her here.
I mean, shutdowns are terrible. And of course, there will be, families that are going to suffer. We take that responsibility very seriously. But it is one of the few leveraged times we have. I mean, shutdown.
I think it's brilliant that they are, they're playing this blame game. Each party's trying to blame each other for the shutdown. And she just comes out and says, like, this is the only leverage we have here. Is us keeping the government shut down, taking full responsibility. What an idiot.
Did you guys see, we could play a little bit of it if we want, not the whole. It's a 6-minute clip, but like the first couple minutes is just CNN confirming that according to their real or fake metrics, this is a lot different than the 2018 window. If you saw this in terms of Trump's popularity, isn't, I don't know, maybe it's directly being helped by this, but anyway, I thought it was interesting.
/2019, Donald Trump's net approval rating was already falling. The shutdown was eating into his popular support. It was down 3 points already at this particular point and would fall considerably more. It was very much on the decline. You come over to this side of the screen, this shutdown hasn't eaten into Donald Trump's support at all. His net approval rating is actually up a point in terms of his popular support. So the bottom line is this: the first shutdown during Trump's first term, 2018-2019, was hurting Donald Trump. This one is not hurting him at all. There's no real reason Donald Trump might say, at least when it comes to popular support, I want to get out of the shutdown. In 2018/2019, 61%, more than 3 in 5 Americans blame Trump a great deal for that particular shutdown. You come over to this side of the screen, look at this. It's a different world. It's a different world. 48% of Americans blame Trump a great deal for this particular shutdown. So it's more than 3 in 5 back in 2018/2019. It's less than half, a drop of 13 points. Again, it's no real wonder that Donald Trump at this point, looking at the shutdown, says, you know what, it's not actually harming me politically, in large part because he's getting less of the blame.
So take it for what it's worth. The fact that they are saying that as a narrative is kind of interesting because, it just demonstrates that the demeanor that I think this audience has had is just like, the only way out is through, just fucking keep it shut down forever, right? But even in Normieville, like on the most vanilla layer possible, even people that are like, we probably need a government, they're like, well, it's not his fault because the Democrats are being dumb.
Well, I also think, like,
John, to your point, that they're taking credit for it.
Yeah, and I think there's very few people that actually feel the effects of the shutdown.
Yeah,
in my opinion. Like who the people not getting paid, which is how many people?
Well, besides military, and they are getting paid, right? So
yeah, well, they didn't pass that bill, I don't think, but
okay.
I don't know.
Trump
Chris?
says he has a private donor to pay for the military. Was that the Drive soundtrack playing in the background of Harry Enton? And also, what is a middle-aged man doing, like, with all the body movements with another guy like 5 feet away? What is he doing?
I don't know. We need Bernie Brett to do that though for our next election coverage. That's the one thing we're missing.
That was good.
We kind of had it, but we didn't have the full up and down body language stuff.
Right.
Those poll numbers are totally. I don't believe any of those. Poll numbers.
It's more just interesting to me that CNN is saying that. And you could convince me that in and of itself is a psyop of like lulling everybody into a sense of sleep. But the fact that you even led into that, John, by saying like they are basically, they meaning the establishment is essentially taking credit for the shutdown. And then the establishment media seems to be saying this isn't good that you're taking credit for this. Yep. So sometimes this is one of those things where I think, they're all degenerate liars. They're all obviously against us. They're all part of the same system. But the system is no longer unified in what its messaging should be, where you've got about half of them saying it is our shutdown and it's good, and the other half saying this is catastrophic and it's the orange man's fault.
Yeah, Chris, you want to add anything to that?
It just seems like they need to start it up again as fast as possible on both sides for the like normie establishment layer.
Yeah, I think what's interesting here is what would be the like if you're the Democrats, you say this is the only piece of leverage you have. What would that be for them? Like, do they think the only leverage they would have is if they can keep it shut down and Trump takes the blame for it? Like somehow it would affect them at the midterms because things have been so bad with the government shutdown. Mm-hmm. But again, I have empathy for people that aren't getting paid by my tax dollars right now, but not really. Besides those people, nobody is really feeling effects from the shutdown. And so what does it matter? Like if anything, it would benefit the Democrats, I think, to get the government up and running again. So yeah, keep it shut down.
Yeah.
It seems like, go ahead, Bernie. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say that it feels like, It feels like one of those rugs, like, do we want to get on this rug? And obviously it's just, we've got the record in sight. Like, if you're competitive at all, you just want to go past that 35 days. But anytime I find myself thinking that, I'm like, it's going to be open tomorrow. There was some stuff going around yesterday that was talking about Polymarket odds over the weekend suddenly surged. Because you can bet on like everything now. Mm-hmm. So on Polymarket, there's a wager of when is the government going to not be shut down anymore, and it moved like 20 points up in favor of the shutdown ending by the end of this week. I think by Friday or Saturday, and I was like, well, that's stupid, and ignored it. But then I was actually reading something about it where they were like, well, the reason this matters is because to move the Polymarket odds that much, like the only way they can move is through a massive influx of money on that betting position. So it's just like a Vegas odd. So that's kind of interesting that you've got like people with lots of money think it is doubly likely or twice as likely that we have an early restart than did a couple of days ago for some reason.
I mean, that's just all based on news stories, though, isn't it? I mean, wasn't it like Kevin Hassett? That name sounds familiar. He's one of Trump's economic guys. Mm-hmm. He was on like CNBC earlier this week, Squawk Box or whatever, and he's like, "Well, the Democrats don't come to the table this week. We're gonna make it real difficult for them. We're gonna unleash the super serious, devastating measures now," which they've been promising like multiple times. Have we even seen any more than like 1,000 people fired from the reduction in force stuff that we were promised?
I think I read it was a few thousand, but it wasn't all that many. At the same time, though, there's all those, some of the buzz this week has been about EBT money and food, which are food stamps, I guess, being cut off because there's no more funding.
Good.
This is something we kind of talked about at the beginning of the newest Trump term of the three. The idea that, that this money was going to be held back all over the place. I kind of just lost track of my thought. You guys go ahead, and I got to figure out what the hell I was gonna say.
On that note, with the money, I don't have any sauce for it, but one thing I'm thinking, because I had written last week about it and tried to look at the stats. To Chris's point, I found like 4,000 was a number I found across various agencies. There was like 600 in the Department of Education in terms of layoffs that were supposedly permanent reductions in force. But it started to get me thinking, this year, a huge narrative has been about the administrative state, right? And recently, especially around the whole Charlie Kirk thing, NGOs are massively in the news. The past couple of weeks, they're back in the news because of the No Kings debacle. And I wonder, like, are we looking at the wrong thing? If you're putting a white pill on it and you're thinking, okay, this shutdown actually is going to result in some sort of meaningful reduction in bureaucratic power. We're looking at government layoff statistics as like the scoreboard, but how many of these NGOs are reliant on like an ongoing, river of cash coming out of the agencies and out of these federal administrative offices? And how long can those NGOs keep going? Those feel like we're not going to see news stories about how NGO X, Y, and Z had to lay off X number of people, but it could be one way of looking at it. Like, it's less about the core government. It's more about the money flows being kind of cut off or choked.
Well, didn't we just see, like, with the No Kings protests, like $290 million got spread across the country to 7 million different people or something?
Well, the reason I'm thinking of it is kind of because of that, of saying like, okay, well, is that a sign that they've got all this money, or is that a sign of we are going to, well, they obviously had that money at the time, but is that a sign of panic, of like Death Blossom style, we got to get mobilized now because the spigots have been turned off and we need to get public pressure on Trump? Because a huge part of the No Kings mythos was Trump being a dictator and basically holding the government hostage. So it's like they spent all this money, ironically, to try to get the government reopened, at least in part.
Bannon was saying he thinks that there was like 600,000 and that 7 million number was crazy.
I agree.
I remember what I was going to say. Austin, Texas is trying to pass this proposition. I think it's called Proposition Q, actually, where they are just going to raise the shit out of everybody's property taxes because federal government funding has gotten cut off for a bunch of projects they already had kind of in the works. Jeez. And so now they are trying to raise like 3x the number that they had lost. And all of these are going to be permanent raises in property taxes. And so the thing that we've been kind of talking about since the beginning that I lost track of when I was discussing it is this federal spending going out to the states. At the point that gets cut off, well, then all the states really are exposed in the fact that they can't operate on their own and that they're dependent on this federal money, which of course we're told is supplied by our tax dollars, but is really just printed fiat currency by global bankers funneled through our federal government and through those agencies Burning Bright mentioned to the NGOs, while all that money is essentially only guaranteed on the sweat, labor, and blood at war of the American people.
So what happens then when, those spigots get turned off and people start to realize that, our government can't operate, our local government can't operate without the federal funding?
The people who are directly dependent on government, it stands to reason that those people are all shit out of luck, whether it's people on food stamps or people who work for these high-level NGOs that have, massive organizations controlling major parts of the regime's agenda. If they don't have the funding, then what happens? Do the employees keep showing up at work? Do they keep coordinating with the cartels to get slaves across the border? I don't know.
Right. Your point, Chris, on property taxes is infuriating, but it's also interesting. I was talking to Mrs. Wright yesterday, I think, just about pretty simple idea. I think a lot of us have talked about in various ways over the years, but I was kind of saying, maybe the awakening or the plan is a little bit different in scope than somebody like me originally thought, in terms of what does the golden age look like? Is it actually this thing? How can Trump straddle this tightrope between trying to lead the American people into a golden age while respecting state sovereignty, which he, as an anti-federalist, would want to respect, right? We know that these state governments are extremely corrupt. So I was saying that I think we're going to get this game theory kicking off. The reason that discussion came up is she was sending me an article because she's been trying to get me to move to Florida like forever. And she sent me an article about how they're not requiring vaccinations, like they're passing something so that vaccinations aren't going to be required for schools and all that kind of stuff, which Massachusetts is like doubling down in the opposite direction. So that was an example of saying, okay, well, if the federal government is successfully slashed to this degree, is it going to kick off almost a state versus state game theory of actually having to compete for Americans again? And Chris's point about property taxes, like that's just one more grenade lobbed in that war. If they're no longer able to subsist on government funding, and then some of these states hit the panic button and start trying to squeeze their citizens, those citizens just go to another state that's not doing that, which has been happening to California and New York a lot.
Yeah, but how many of these states are relying on the federal money? Didn't Trump talk about the property tax thing? Like, would he be able to get rid of property taxes with an executive order? I don't think he could.
No, I think that's all done in the states, and it's funny because Ron DeSantis has been kind of out front on the stripping of the property tax, and then apparently the plan is to put the property tax on the ballot and let the voters decide in a fake election whether or not the property tax is going to stay. So super based.
How much you want to bet that in that election the voters are going to vote for property taxes?
Yeah. I mean, that is one of those things.
Yeah. We'll be told that it's all the woke's fault and that turnout favored the wokes and blah, blah, blah.
Scott Presler will blame conservatives for sure.
Right, exactly. And they use these issues to try to get people to the polls. And I guess they need 60%. It'll probably be like 59-41. We just didn't make it. Shucks. At least you guys got to express your concerns.
We should. I was gonna show the Trump True Social post.
Yeah, do it.
Okay. Speaking of elections, this was 7:06 p.m. a couple hours ago, 3 hours ago. Ask former President Barack Hussein Obama whether or not he really believes that in 2020 Joe Biden got 15 million more votes than he did in 2012, 65.9 versus 81 million. Additionally, ask him why it is that Joe Biden beat Obama in every single swing state with the black vote in 2020, even though black voters hate him, but in no other state. The 2020 election was an illegal scam / hoax that the people of our great country will never forget. Was there like any pretext to this? Like I looked and I didn't see that he posted this video about election stuff afterwards, but I didn't see anything beforehand that was stuff. Like, why is he?
I don't know.
What got him on that? I love it when he does it out of nowhere, but usually like he'll have a discussion with somebody, like he's meeting with somebody in the Oval Office, and then afterwards he'll go on a rant. But it didn't appear to have that.
No idea if it's connected, but I did happen to see today, scrolling across the battle space, that there was early projections on the 2028 election.
Nice. Who's winning?
Do you want to know what it was that J.D. Vance has the lead over Gavin Newsom in the 2028 election. So I don't know. If I want to stretch, which I want to do, then maybe Donald Trump is preemptively seeding the idea that the 2028 election is also fake. Not the 2024 election. That's the only one ever that was real, even though in its aftermath, Trump signed an executive order declaring them all fake.
Are we
and
ready
said
to
it
call?
on national television.
That's true. Are we ready to call the 2028 election for JD Vance yet? Can we make that call now at Badlands?
I'm not sure.
we need to get our Team America World Police soundbite out if we're going to make a call like that.
I do have that.
Fuck yeah!
We are calling the 2028 election for JD exclamation point Vance.
We have to be the first. There's no way we're not the first.
I like how it's a contest between Silicon Valley and Napa Valley, like JD versus Gavin.
Do you think JD Vance will get the wine mom vote? Or will it go to Gavin?
It's going to be tough.
JD's been positioned as like the soft Trump that you could bring up in Napa Valley and be like, I'm not saying I agree with everything, but
the kind of Trump you can take home to mom.
Yeah, right.
Just don't let him alone with your couch. I think I saw that story come up today again. I don't remember where. I think it was like somebody on CNN was talking about it. Maybe it was Jesse Waters talking about it. Oh, now I have to find this.
We're very, very early, but it's going to be very interesting circa 27 and 28 to see how Donald Trump communicates about, like, if we do actually end up with elections again, to see how he communicates about that and how JD Vance communicates about him as part of the campaign.
I gotta love the fact that Trump came out directly and said, does anyone believe that Joe Biden received 81 million real lawful American votes, which I have said thousands of times.
More than that.
We'd
have to count the
billions
times.
And billions of times.
We need to use an election machine to count the times. Have we talked about it yet? How that guy,
Joe Biden's soundbite with the million billion whatever.
Oh damn it! I have that somewhere too.
Sorry, I didn't mean to like throw you off your point.
No, that's I need to get used to. I used to have my soundboard memorized, like every spot in here, but it's been messed
used
with.
To be quicker than that.
Yeah, it's been messed with. But I was going to ask, have we talked about the guy who purchased Dominion? I think we talked about it on one of our shows, didn't we?
I don't know.
Have we not? So, okay, so wasn't with Bernie, right? Chris, did we talk about that?
I think we must have talked about it briefly.
Because what do you guys think about that? I don't know what to think.
Ash. I talked about it with Ash on Daily when she was covering for Brian, and then we talked about it the next night.
That's right. And I don't remember. I mean, I don't trust any machines in the elections, but I wonder what that op is about, because he's allegedly like an Ed Martin connected guy.
Maybe it's to make all of the Democrats go back to screaming about election machines. It just that narrative just keeps reversing side to side.
It's like ping pong. Yeah,
it is very strange. And you know, the pattern now, both sides have claimed that the machines are invalid. Well, good. Then we all understand that none of us see our elections as legitimate. And if that's the case on both sides, then a government can't be legitimately formed as a product of our elections. That's just like a real baseline, fundamental bridge that they're not able to cross. And therefore, no government can be legitimate.
Yeah, I think we're there. I mean, we've been there here, at least here in the Badlands community. I feel like you said both sides as the time goes. But where do we go beyond that? That's what we're waiting for, right? Is the, okay, now that we all acknowledge how fraudulent our elections are and our government and all these things, where's the next step? And that's what we're waiting for.
That's the question, yeah.
That's the question.
But, you know, if Trump, and I've said this a number of times, but if Trump is giving the power back to the people, well, the people need to be competent and have the wherewithal and understanding to actually take and properly use that power. And I don't know if that we're even close to that point right now.
And it's much too early to make that kind of decision.
There we go.
Well, even to your point about the way he's framing that post, Chris, like it's the mandate cultivation that we've been talking about, especially leading up to the 2024 election, when he's getting more direct. And I don't know, a lot will change between now and 2028, but it wouldn't surprise me to see him really lean into that as he gets closer to the end of this term, Trump, to get him, to see him lean more into discussions about elections. And maybe hopefully there's a big swerve coming and we get a lot of clarity in the interim and somehow can trust them. But alternatively, it could be that like he really just puts turns the heat up heading toward 2028 to keep asking the American people very directly, do you guys just want to I'm leaving, I'm clocking out soon. Do you guys just going to keep doing this? Or did you want to maybe do something else in the years ahead?
Well, hopefully they'll just be canceled.
Yeah.
That reminds me, two things. First, this post is essentially what led to the Devolution series. Like this situation of there's no way Biden beat Trump is what led to the Devolution series. But on my show yesterday, I think it was, we started making a list of all the promises. It was basically all the Agenda of 47 promises that Trump made that haven't come through yet. And like, okay, when are these things going to happen? Where the fuck did I put this list? I had a whole bunch of them. This is my other notebook, maybe. Which notebook? Oh yeah, here we go. And this is kind of what you're talking about, like fixing elections. That's one of those things. Like, hey, we're going to give the government back to you, the people, right? Freedom cities, auditing Fort Knox, dismantling the Department of Education, the American Academy, lower gas prices, haven't done that yet, ending income tax, arresting Fauci. And some of this is from the audience, so I don't take credit for all these. If they're dumb, they weren't mine. Accountability for the RICO stuff, ending the Ukraine war, defunding the NEA, returning the diamonds, ending daylight savings. Somebody said flying cars, and that's where I stopped writing them down. But there's like a lot of shit that we were promised coming into this where we haven't had like any movement on any of it. And the election
daylight savings is a thing that we could, as Badlanders, just live in a different timeline, very literally.
Well, if you can make my car fly, we'd be well on our way.
We could just live as if the clocks do not, in fact, turn back or forward or whatever happens this next time.
I kind of like that.
If we all agreed that it just remained this time throughout the winter, I mean, it would throw everything off for a little while. It would be very confusing. But eventually, I think we would make it to the right place.
Like we could at least probably get some attention for doing that if we just committed to the bit the entire time. And then we'd have to coordinate with each other on time zones.
Badlands Standard Time? Isn't that what we call it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Huh. Can we just like go totally off base and just like, okay, right now, guys, it's 3:13.
I think we should just keep it as is because we want Trump to be able to join in with the narrative.
But we all have to use the same number. Like we can't, like it can't be 10:13 Badlands Standard Time here and then 11:13 there.
No, because the time zones, we keep time zones.
We keep time zones?
Yeah, we're going to keep time zones, but we're not going to observe daylight savings.
So we're not going to change it. I think we should just all operate from the same time.
Let's just say it's always 7 p.m. and just see how that goes for a while.
Every show
always.
at 7 p.m.
No. Just all day long. It is only 7 p.m.
Well, I think it could be done if you took my ideas, not either of those ideas, but
yeah.
No, I like where this is going. I like your start of an idea. I don't like
I mean, it's a very low risk way to kind of practice what we preach and be like, well, Trump keeps telling us, hey, I need the mandate of the people. So we could say, well, Trump said that daylight savings was stupid, so we just stopped observing it.
Yeah.
So all the Badlands shows are written out as Badlands Standard Time, even if they're scheduled for daylight savings time.
I think we should stop observing time zones, though, as well. Like, I think we should just adopt, well, if we're not going to call it Badlands time, Standard Time, just American Standard Time. Just all of America, one time. That's it. Like, fuck this East, West, whatever.
It is weird.
And
I
people
was going
can
to challenge that.
move around the country to the places where the lighting durations are most amenable to their tastes.
Right.
Yeah.
Like if you don't want it to be dark at 3 o'clock, go west.
Yeah.
I like this. Okay. So do you think everybody will get more on board with America Standard Time or Badlands Standard Time? Because I'm torn. I think it can go either way.
I don't think it's going to work either way, but we should.
That's not the point, Chris.
Doomer.
Well, we
Total
start
doomer.
small and we allow it to build. So we'll just have to make our own decision on this one. We can go back to the drawing board a little bit and really workshop this.
Ooh,
Right.
we need a drawing board at GART. We need Mrs. Bright. Can you tell Mrs. Bright to get us some sort of board we can draw on, like a whiteboard?
She was in a good mood today, right up until that.
She's probably still in a good mood. That's a good idea. That'd be so funny to have a board on stage we could draw on when we wanted to.
I bet they have a whiteboard there.
You'd think so.
Yeah.
It'll be $1,000 rental, from what I hear. the way they operate.
They get rid of property taxes in Florida, but they raise your whiteboard rental
Yeah,
fees.
it's like, can we use this room that nobody's using? Like, that'll be $1,000. Like, could we use the TV that's in the room? That'll be another $1,000. Okay.
Can you turn down the AC a little bit? It's a little hot. $1,000.
Yeah.
Oh, Miss Bright is in the chat. She's still awake. She said, "Ha ha." What does that mean?
She said, "Ha, what does that mean?"
I don't trust
And then
it.
she said, in all caps, "No, no, nope."
Wow.
Presumably about the whiteboard.
Well, we're gonna have to go back to the drawing board about the drawing board.
Yes.
So then, what are we going to draw? Can we
Jordan
draw on the
Sather
walls?
would be up there the whole time. That's like his whole thing, his whiteboards.
That's true. He needs to bring his little pointy hand thing.
Yeah.
For us on the whiteboard.
Speaking of, I watched a little bit of his little saloon talk there on Q. It was good stuff from what I saw.
Yeah, he's just so fluid with the material, and I think that's really helpful. And he kind of, I think I listened to about 45 minutes or so at the beginning, and he was going through some of the background for the audience on the assumption that most of them probably are not familiar with the Q phenomenon. And I thought it was a really interesting presentation. I'll probably listen to another 45 minutes of it tomorrow.
I actually watched your guys' show instead of that. So I did watch like 5 minutes.
That was a mistake.
Yeah. Well, I watched Scream. And it was a good movie, but I don't know if it was the best script ever, like whatever you guys are saying it was.
Well, no, it's not the best movie ever. It's more the script is very notorious in Hollywood at the time too, and it's impossible to get back to context, especially when you're talking about meta commentary.
Yeah, well, I mean, we don't need to do the story hour show again.
We could just play the whole story hour episode.
But Miss Bright doesn't understand the need for a drawing board. She's like, why do you guys need to draw? Why do you need to even do that? It's not that. It's we just need to be able to say like, okay, back to the drawing board and actually be able to like do that if we need to.
We all have to go over to it.
We have to be able to have a drawing board to go back to if we need to.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about actually drawing on it. It's just having the board available and present. But anyway,
we could begin drawing on it.
We might.
Yeah, we should just leave ourselves the opportunity. We should keep it open.
I think we should. We could add the price of the drawing board on to the tickets, probably like $1 person, probably. I feel like they would. That's well worth the investment.
Yeah,
Ghost says to play the Silicon Valley clip. I hit people with that twice in a row 2 weeks ago. I hit them with it at the end of DPH Wednesday and also on OnlyLands.
Which
Chris
clip?
would love it.
I love that.
The whacking off every guy in the audience clip at the end of season 1, where they misunderstand Richard and then they just start actually engaging in a discussion.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
On how possible it is or isn't, and it's
on the whiteboard.
There's a whiteboard involved. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah. Well, I think right now is a good opportunity to plug our GART conference. Since we're talking about it anyway, let's do that real quick.
Here on the sun-kissed shores of Cocoa Beach, where the ocean meets the horizon, the Great American Restoration Tour continues on November 6th through the 9th, 2025. Badlands Media gathers patriots like you, not just to talk, but to rebuild. From truth-telling panels to unbreakable bonds, we're restoring the soul of our nation, one conversation at a time. This is the heart of the Space Coast, where the rockets defy gravity and dreams touch the stars. Feel the thunder of innovation that powers America forward. Together, we're not just healing the past, we're blasting off into a brighter tomorrow. A future where truth prevails, families thrive, and America leads once more. Join us in Cocoa Beach. Get your seat or your virtual stream pass now at badlandsmedia.tv/events. Launch is imminent, and you don't want to miss this liftoff.
Sarge Sparky wants to know if Cocoa Beach is racist. I feel like it's a racist question to even ask.
Yeah. What do you mean, the name?
Well,
because it's chocolate?
I don't know.
You can balance it out with a whiteboard.
There we go. See, I feel like there's a lot of reasons to have a whiteboard there, and I haven't heard many reasons not to so far, except for just Miss Bright saying no.
We could do that thing where everybody in the audience has a little mini whiteboard so that they can participate.
Wow.
And we can condescendingly ask them to write down whether or not they believe Joe Biden received 81 million real lawful American votes.
It'll be like Pictionary for Devolution Power Hour.
Yep.
We'll see who draws the best version of what we're talking about.
Okay, so not only do we need one big whiteboard for the stage, but every attendee needs their own personal whiteboard.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
That's
Mrs. Bright can contact like Staples or something.
She loves Staples, especially the week of a GART. That's usually her most stressful thing, actually, is like if we're going to a little inside baseball in the events industry. Usually when she's flying to an event, it's all about sourcing the nearest Staples and making sure she has the thumb drives she needs. And then whether or not the Staples employee that hovers around the printer area knows how to use any of them. So like there's a triage system of 3 things that could go very wrong every time.
It sounds like we can add the
Staples
whiteboard situation
orbit.
to here and not have any issues. We should get her. What's her email again? So if you have a custom whiteboard that you want, you can email Miss Bright with your request and whatever color you want for your marker. Because everybody should have whatever color they want. I think that's important too.
Right.
Man, there's so many things we can
Yeah.
do.
Also, if you are offended by a whiteboard, you can select a blackboard, and you just need to contact Mrs. Bright to let her know. Like it'll be like when you're responding to a wedding invitation and you have to choose between the steak and the fish or the vegetarian meal.
It's the whiteboard or the blackboard. But Chris, it is 2025. They're called African American boards now.
That's
if you could,
right.
Yes.
If you could please.
Whiteboards are still the master race, though. We all know this.
Whiteboards and African American boards. Oh, so much trouble. What else should we talk? Should we talk about the Russia stuff, because that shit's funny.
A lot.
Sure.
There's a lot there. So I mean, Burning Bright, this is this is probably more up mine and Chris's alley, but we'll let you take the floor.
This one's funny because I was like writing and reading about a whole other tranche of Russia stuff in the afternoon, and then of course before the show it kind of pivoted into sanctions are back on, apparently.
It was like a 48-hour thing too. It went from
Yeah.
like we're gonna meet to
right,
we're gonna sanction the shit out of you.
That's probably the bigger topic that maybe we can get into. The smaller subtopic I think was very cool because I have been talking about this for the last 2 months. Robert Fico out of Slovakia made some news. I believe it was today. It could have been yesterday. Yeah, it was today. Where he said, there was supposed to be this meeting. Viktor Orban of Hungary was proposing that he's going to broker this meeting between Trump, Putin, and Zelensky in Budapest. And then today that fell apart. And Robert Fico of Slovakia came out and said, the EU was behind the scenes making moves to make sure that this Budapest meeting didn't happen. I don't care about any of the actuals there. I think that this is all like fake, but actually not gay because I think it's entertaining. But the reason I bring up Slovakia and Hungary is that even 2 months ago, I wrote a whole article called The Sovereign War, talking about how Slovakia and Serbia were present at Xi Jinping's Beijing Victory Day parade, which was all about Axis and allies, like it was the Allied victory over the Axis. And Serbia is not NATO or EU. Slovakia is NATO and EU. And I had theorized, if we are to see a fracturing within NATO and the EU, which I think is coming, I think it will start with Slovakia, who are going to be framed as being pulled by Serbia, because they're very close, and that Viktor Orban is going to support them. And what I had floated in that article, I think it was in August, was the narrative around why Orban is going to do this is that he is suing for peace between Russia and Ukraine, and the rest of the EU does not want that. Orban hasn't been as direct in that framing. He hasn't said that outright. He just keeps saying, I want peace, but he's not really saying anything about the rest of Europe. Robert Fico is directly accusing the rest of his alliance of actively working to prevent the war. So I had said in that article, Slovakia is the closest to no longer being in NATO or the EU. And I think if Fico goes, Orban goes, or makes a power move. And I think all this is narrative, right? I'm just talking about how it's going to be translated. So it's interesting. My ears perked up a few days ago when Orban just volunteered that he would host the peace summit. And then Fico says it was France and the UK that stopped that summit from happening. So I just think that that's an interesting subplot here. We focus on this stuff a lot from the Trump side or even the Russia side of like what's going on and maybe the Ukrainian side. But I think the story to watch is what is going on within the EU and when do we get the knives out at each other? Because I think you're building public mandate within Eastern Europe, specifically in Hungary and Slovakia, for those populations to say, can we get the fuck out of here because these guys are provoking Putin and we are the ones trying to stop that from happening.
As somebody who is recently very familiar with lawsuits, can you explain what you mean by suing for peace?
Just making overtures toward peace.
So sue me. No, don't sue me. That's the opposite of the point that I'm trying to make.
I suppose they could try in civil court.
Yeah,
they could just take the rest of Europe to civil court. And
no, I do think it's interesting though. Like this, on the heels of the Middle East situation, which there's some weird narrative play there too, where Trump is like flirting with, okay, Gaza, you guys better stop your shenanigans over there. We're gonna have to come in and totally obliterate you. This peace deal needs to hold or whatever. Is he really talking about Hamas? Or I don't even remember who. I think it was Hamas he mentioned in that Truth Social post. It felt very weird though, like very deliberate. Mm-hmm. But on the heels of that, like, okay, had a phone call with Putin. Things are great. We're best buds again. We talk trade. Next day, Zelensky comes. Trump's like giving Zelensky a short lease. Just take the deal that Putin's offering as it stands. Probably the same peace deal that they had in March or April of 2022. And then now, just 2 days after that, it's again, okay, well, me and Putin I'm angry, sanctions. The last like 2-3 weeks, it's like Trump is almost creating these narrative crises. Are we sure?
I randomly like that word a lot and use it all the time.
Okay, crises, which don't even like necessarily exist in order to solve the crises. He did the same thing with China, where things are great. Oh, I'm really mad at China. Oh, now I'm going to cancel the meeting, but really the meeting was still on the whole time. And like he's set to go there next week. Like he gets these narrative crises. I'm going to use that word all the time now that I know how to say it. I was never confident before. Now I am. He creates these things just to solve them. And half the time, nothing actually ever changes. And I wonder if the same thing's happening here with the Russia situation.
There is one thing that changes, and that is the public's view of sanction policy. Sanctions were leveled against Russia, and they attempted to destroy the Russian currency at the beginning of the very brutal invasion, as you mentioned. Mm-hmm. None of that had any negative effect on Russia. In fact, the currency was strengthened. Sanctions are the waging of the global regime and the global bankers of economic warfare against the people of a nation to cause suffering to a point that the people will then revolt against the sovereign leader of the nation and welcome the return to regime control over that nation. So Trump is making a totally toothless threat to Putin that simultaneously gives him narrative shielding against the idea that he is operating in cahoots with Russia. And I can't remember the second part of that because I refocused on the fact that there's also talk now of the Russian seized assets being redeployed. And we've gotten that cycle like every 3 months for the last 2.5 years at least.
It's interesting you say that because real quick, one of my favorite threads from that Gonzalo Lira guy was one where he talked about how the West's sanctions of Russia basically protected them from sanctions moving forward. Like they sanctioned them so much over the years that they de-dollarized themselves to a point where they have no teeth anymore. So go ahead, Bray.
Yeah, actually, in the Righteous Russia series, part 7 is called Power. And that's when I use the Game of Thrones scene with Cersei and Littlefinger. Power is power. That was all about the sanctions in 2022. And I had said the whole point here, assuming the Sovereign Alliance is real, is that Trump, to Chris's point, is giving Putin, well, Biden, the U.S. is giving Putin narrative shielding to fully decouple from the United States. 2024 or 2025, the main narrative on that front is Trump and Xi. So like a lot of people in the info war, I guess kind of picked up on the Trump-Putin pincer here, but the same thing is happening with Xi Jinping, and Xi Jinping is getting all the narrative shielding to decouple from the US dollar because what happened tonight? More sanctions on Russia. Well, they're off. China, they're off, they're on, they're off, they're on. But in that article in 2022, I had said, Russia, first of all, the US and Russia both showed the whole game board something with that sanction war. The US showed that the rules-based international order is fake. Effectively, no matter, and a lot of economists, normie economists agreed with this, it wasn't about whether or not the US had the power to seize those Russian assets. It was about that the US's main claim to fame from an economic perspective is the observation of property rights. We have the strongest property rights in the world. This is the first time, supposedly, right. The story is that we do, right?
Right.
So this was a complete breaking of that illusion for everybody. So it gave China, Russia, India, and all these other countries shielding to de-dollarize. And Russia, as you said, John, Russia's ruble was the only currency that went up in value in 2022. And it's because they just friendshored. So it's, my whole macro theory on what's going on an economic war front is that Trump and Russia and China are basically having this economic war, to Chris's point, to provoke the public mandate of reshoring and re-dollarizing or sovereign dollarizing, right? There's a lot of theories right now that China and Russia are doing that with gold. Maybe the US might do it with Bitcoin. And on that small note, this week, yesterday, look at what Russia is doing in response to these sanctions. Russia's creating a legal system for crypto to avoid Western sanctions. And what's interesting about this is not just, okay, crypto, magic word, Bitcoin, etc. It's that they're specifically signing the Russian equivalent of executive orders to allow for international settlement in trade via Bitcoin. So, like, it's not just, oh, we're going further into Bitcoin and we're kind of drawing this line that isn't there between that story and this story. The reason they are saying they want the ability to settle international trade in Bitcoin is as a result of the American sanctions. So if you want to go down G-Money rabbit trails or anything like that, and you think Bitcoin is part of the reset plan, the good reset plan, Trump just forced Putin to go even further into it.
Haven't they been pretty slow to adopt it in the first place? By the way,
Yeah,
badlandsmedia.tv/river. Get your Bitcoin if you haven't yet. But yeah, they've been pretty slow. And China's bipolar with their Bitcoin approach. Like sometimes they're super for it, and then sometimes they're super against it and criminalizing it. It's super weird. But yeah, I could have swore Russia's very slow to adopt the Bitcoin stuff. So that's an interesting move. You should send me that article.
Yeah, they were slow to it. The only kind of hint that was thawing a little bit was, I don't know what month it was. There's a link in the chat. It was a few months ago. Putin was in some sort of interview on Russian media, and they were asking him about sanctions. And unprovoked, he said, well, you know what you can't sanction is Bitcoin. So and they were asking him about gold. And he said, well, you can't sanction Bitcoin. So it's that was kind of the first time that he had really publicly talked about it in a way that was, and a lot of people in this audience know that Trump has been super anti-central bank digital currency. Vladimir Putin has been as well. But to your point, John, in the past, he's kind of conflated that with all crypto.
Yeah.
But lately he's we're going to settle trade in Bitcoin, but no CBDCs. So,
by the way, speaking of fake elections, you see Japan elected a woman.
She's a woman who doesn't think women should get uppity, though.
Well, she said that. Is that a quote?
It's a paraphrase. If you scroll down in this very posting, the one of the last paragraphs, while making history, read us that one.
While making history as Japan's first female leader, Takachi, aren't those the little toy things? Tamagotchi.
Yeah. Takaichi,
okay. John.
Well, I'm going to call her Tamagotchi.
Japanese is a very phonetic language. It's really easy.
It's so weird how into the Japanese culture you are. No offense to Japanese.
This is why. Read how based this statement is.
Okay. Tamagotchi has not championed gender equality. She supports male-only succession for the imperial family, opposes allowing separate surnames for married couples, and does not support same-sex marriage. That is pretty based.
She hates gay people. She hates women, presumably. No, she doesn't hate women. She just thinks that they're beneath men. And,
how good's their sourdough?
Well, I don't know. That remains to be seen. But I mean, she could be a Ron DeSantis of Japan. I don't know. But surface level, she's a based trad wife. I think she's single, though.
Leaving the political viewpoints in particular aside, she is the face of a part of this project that needs to play out in Japan. John and I were just talking about this on Saturday night in reference to Nicolas Maduro, in reference to Joe Biden, in reference to Lula, in reference to al-Sharaf in Syria. They just place the character that needs to be the face of the nation while certain elements play out in much the same way that they'll put Mike Johnson or Kevin McCarthy or Hakeem Jeffries or whoever in a position of power. Mitch McConnell's been kept in his, position of power for a decade or longer after he's completely not there anymore. So I think it's just about who's playing that part and the narrative that they're able to spin off as a result of that character being there.
Chris, did you see I was prompted by Music Prod Gal in the chat that Takaichi is indeed a heavy metal drummer. And in fact, I was reading up on her that as she was getting more seriously considered for bigger roles in the last couple of years, she vowed to her backers to stop going out and playing sets of heavy metal because they thought it would reflect poorly for the male, supporters.
Why?
She's like a headbanging heavy metal Japanese rocker.
The writers are not concerned at all about jumping the shark.
Nope.
So confused.
She's into karaoke.
Is she a lesbian?
I mean, probably. Come on.
Isn't the woman who leads the AfD in Germany a lesbian, even though they're the party that everyone calls Nazis? At some point, we gotta start rethinking what Nazis are.
Yeah.
Right. Haven't a lot of them, or at least the news stories have been that a lot of them have been getting assassinated lately. AfD
lesbians
people,
AfD people.
lesbians, but AfD candidates or something.
I don't know. I try not to follow German news too closely.
Anyway, I mean, I agree with everything Chris said about the characters, but I think if you want to what is this? What's going on here with Takaichi? I think it's if it's a good thing, How dare you?
I think we have to refer to her as that moving forward.
Tamagotchi,
yeah.
Tamagotchi. She's like one of the Digimon, but I mean they're just Asians. It's okay.
I can't believe you're controlling what we're allowed to say.
First time ever.
Episode 400.
Forgive me for this one instance of, can we please refer to this Japanese woman as Tamagotchi?
Well, now that you said please.
Right. So anyway, I think that it's going to be interesting to watch this on some of the normie layers, because some of the infamous narratives about Japan on the macro, like over the last decade and more, is that maybe among any super developed nation, they're in the most precarious position due to globalism. Chris and I actually kind of talked about this a little bit during our Godzilla -1 discussion, which is a fantastic movie, by the way, everybody. It deals a lot with these kind of topics, and it basically Japan's in this aging crisis. They're in this economic crisis. They maybe have like the most fake fiat system, the most over leveraged even compared to our own. So, you know, in the narrative, you've got this kind of return. The Japanese are very averse. The modern Japanese are very averse to making waves and getting into culture wars and stuff like that. And Takaichi is a total departure from that, where like she's stepping up and saying like, Japan is for Japanese people. That's one of her slogans. So it's like, it's the Trump of Japan, right? It's the, as you said, Chris, it's these characters. It's just all about, are they our characters, or are they appeasement, characters?
Go ahead, John.
I was just gonna comment on her nickname, so I feel like that's totally relevant. You can go ahead, because you're actually adding some substance to the conversation.
I just am constantly amazed that the same lessons are being taught and learned in all the countries of the world, using roughly the same narratives to tell the stories in all these countries. And I haven't taken the time to do this, and I don't even know where I would start, because it's quite a project. But I would guess that the stories we are seeing now, if we were to kind of play those backwards in Russia and China, we would see that a lot of those stories have been told there to translate for the public the same process of stepping down and stepping away from the global order. And, I imagine Burning Bright right now is going to talk about the reprivatization, the capture and then reprivatization of large organizations and corporations in Russia 20 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, I
He's
did
got that clip.
I accidentally did a 23-minute rant on this at the end, so I won't do that. But you guys could watch the narrative from Sunday. But the short version,
you did a 23-minute rant on that after I got off?
Yeah.
Wow.
How
long did you go?
Another hour. Another strong hour. It's become a bit of a meme if I go solo after the guests leave. It's like, I'm just going to talk about this one thing. Granted, because of the events of the last weekend, we had a ton of rants come in. So I was also hanging with the people, and a lot of those rants were dedicated to your Friday stream. But I did like another half hour by myself. But to Chris's point, I actually, for some reason, I did not connect this until last week, even though like I've been writing about both theaters separately for a while, the US-China thing and then the US-Russia thing. And I talk about the sovereign alliance of the three of them together. But on an economic front, I had never really connected Putin's origins to that of Xi and Trump. I'd always connected them in terms of, they all three of them kind of rose up and went against the deep state. But this all came up because my theory on Trump and Xi is that their trade war has forced the reshoring of all these American companies, these globalist corporations. So I've said if you recast the trade war between them as those two against the corporate oligarchy of Apple, Samsung, TSMC, name your company that's all been reshoring, then that makes more sense. But then I started digging back into Putin and why he started to gain such ravenous support within Russia. And it was because we've played the clip on a bunch of shows. The Oleg Deripaska clip is like the easiest example of this. But there was something called the Aluminum Wars in Russia in the 90s, where all the oligarchs in the collapse of the Soviet Union they all basically started buying up all these public companies on these Soviet companies. It was all the manufacturing and mineral rare earth companies. So all those narratives are back around, right? So all these Russian
considered rare earth. Not
technically all these things are rare earth. Like rare earth just means it's not dirt. They're not really like rare.
Is that for real?
Yeah, it's like it's earth that need to be processed essentially.
So common earth.
Yeah. Yeah, something, Chris.
No, I was just gonna say I agree. It's a bit of it's
like
an overstated kind of
misnomer.
Yeah, it means it's not granite. It's rarer than granite. But the aluminum wars was this thing where in the 90s the Russian oligarchs, essentially the Russian people were told like, "Hey, capitalism's here. Isn't this great?" Except it was as if the Joe Biden presidency ended, Trump didn't come in, no president came in, and we just were ruled by Meta and Tesla and Apple. Like that's what was going on in the 90s in Russia, where we had a president in Russia, Boris Yeltsin, but he's notorious for being a weak president because everyone in Russia knew that he was answerable to the oligarchs who ran the metals industry. All that to say, Putin came in and did exactly what Trump is doing right now to Intel and Apple and TSMC. And he was like, I'm going to sanction all of you, sanction his own companies to his sanctions were all about fair wages and all that kind of stuff for the Russian people.
Putin's where?
Putin's
where you're saying?
Putin.
Yeah.
So Putin was threatening all these oligarchs and saying, you got to pay the Russians more. You've got to, produce more jobs here and all this kind of stuff and take less profit. So he was being a dictator. That is true. Putin came on as a dictator. Trump is also acting as a dictator. That is true with these companies. So it just turns out that that's a good thing if you have a good guy that's a dictator. So he does this with all these Russian companies. And if they said no, he just was like, well, we're just going to kill you then. And so they took the deals. This is the famous, and that was the famous Oleg Deripaska clip where he makes them sign the deal, right? So that's the Russian version. It's the exact same thing that Trump is doing here, where Putin and the Russian people took stakes in all of these companies, and Americans were calling it communism. And now the American people have a stake in Intel, and they're going to get a stake in Apple, and probably in General Motors, and probably in Ford. Like that's all coming because these companies are basically in free fall. So I thought it was interesting that Vladimir Putin, I've long theorized, if you wanted to put like a captain's hat on anybody in the Sovereign Alliance, I do not think it started with Donald Trump. I believe it started with Vladimir Putin. And there is overwhelming evidence. If you were looking for like who started fighting the deep state, it was Vlad. And he started it in 1999. And Donald Trump is following his playbook like beat for beat, and Xi Jinping did this in 2012 with the Chinese oligarchy. He started nationalizing all of them.
And they're translating it through the same big picture narratives and the same story layers. One of the really interesting dynamics that I think we're just going to have to watch play out in order to understand is that whole privatization, that seizure and privatization process, because, the way we're kind of led to understand our society is free market capitalism. Here in America, we have free market capitalism. We're all raised believing that. Well, what does that mean? It certainly doesn't guarantee that we have free markets, and we don't. The markets are heavily manipulated in every aspect of our society. We're told all of these major transnational corporations are private organizations, except the government regulates them. And they are all pursuing the same agenda together. They're all partner organizations of the same global governance bodies. And so if a global government body or governance body, these major ones are regulating and controlling transnational corporations and the governments of nations, where is the split in any of this? It's hard to see it as anything other than just different iterations and aspects of the same controlling force, that same centralizing power. So if you wanted to get away from that and decentralize, well, how can you do that? And then again, you come back to the power is power thing. Well, what power is able to actually contend with that? And it would have to be the power of superpower militaries in countries that are able to be self-sufficient enough to survive. If you have that kind of power in a country and you want to kind of set things right and then reprivatize, well, the state is going to have to acquire control in a formal way over those entities that it used to just control through influence. And so I think that we're seeing that process play out.
Yeah, that is interesting, but I don't like it. If I'm being honest, I know like the public-private partnership aspect. We've talked about it so many times over the Devolution series, because in my part 13, I look at like all these different groups that were formed that I think were partnering with the government or in some fashion, like basically operating as shadow government. And that's great, but we talk about so many times about how we want a smaller government, we want less government, we don't want this bloated thing that we have right now. And then we're sitting here, Trump's taking over Intel, Trump's getting a stake in MP Materials, Trump's talking about TSMC, NVIDIA. Like, I understand the thought process behind all of these different companies that we've given grants to, especially through the CHIPS Act. But if you look at just grants generally, like if we're giving away free tax dollars, we should get an ownership stake. Totally behind that. I totally understand the thought process there. But I also think that isn't doing what we wanted to in terms of making a smaller government. So there is like this push comes to shove here where I don't know. I'm torn on it. Like, I like it in some respects because I want the income for the American people. I want to not be paying taxes. I want all these benefits, but I want a smaller government too. And I don't know if these moves lead to that smaller government. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Are we in a situation of no kings, or is the natural state of the world only kings?
Well, obviously there are kings. Otherwise they wouldn't have protests all over the country, Chris.
I get what you're saying. I see this as first of all, I know what you're saying, but technically it's the American people owning 10% of Intel. So I think that's how it's being translated. And
is it though?
We'll have to see. Well, this is all about the government, but the way I see this, and I think this is recasting, like a lot of MAGA people, you'd probably have your minds blown. If you guys find some time, just go back and start reading about start talking to Grok or whatever you want to do about Vladimir Putin's rise, and forget like the political scandals, forget all that stuff. Just look into what did he do in Russia? What were the policies in Russia? And then think about how were those policies translated to the West. And what's funny about your comment there, John, is that is exactly what the globalist American media said about Vladimir Putin during the 90s and 2000s. They were like, he's a dictator. His government is too powerful. He's taking control of all these companies. And it was like, technically, those things are true. But I think this is one of those, besides the power is power refrain, this is like, to quote Rich Higgins, we are operating in the battle space we are in, right? And I think what Trump and Patriots are doing is they are saying there is no unwind from this that's in a constitutional or free market manner that works. The American people have no fucking idea what's been going on here. The Mag 7 is responsible for 50% of the value of the Fortune 500. And to Chris's earlier point, none of that was achieved through free market dynamics. So what he's doing, I think, is acting as a king and taking them, or a general, taking them in an economic war. That's very literal. The translation of that is we're buying stakes in these companies. Just like Putin told the Russian people, we're investing in Deripaska. We're investing in the aluminum wars in Russia. When those were seizures, they were strategic seizures. And honestly, I'd loop this back into devolution. And to combat what you're saying, like, if we're still doing this in 20 years, then we fucked up. But right now, Guess what's a national essential function? Minerals, rare earths, semiconductors, the chips, energy. All of these things are things that private corporations control. So if Trump respected the free market now, when it hasn't been being respected for the last century, the government loses to these private companies, and these private companies that are already oligarchs control the American future. And that's what Putin came in to stop, basically.
And one last thing, it's not only the corporations are not only private corporations, they're transnational private corporations. We are told under the global order that is that top-down centralization. So how private are they?
Yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah, the foreign aspect is big. I mean, even devolution related, right? Because but how's he going to translate that? I guess he's very broadly translating it of being like, you better get back here. You better get back over here and build the factories here. That's as close as he's coming to saying these are foreign actors.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm curious to see like some of these trade deals, we haven't seen how they fully like flushed out. Like we haven't seen a Trump Xi meeting. There could be aspects of their trade negotiations that have some of this stuff in there. Like American companies cannot be in your fucking country anymore. Like get them out of there. We don't know, but that's coming in the next couple weeks. Trump Russia, if that meeting ever happens or when that meeting happens, maybe there's something there too. There's a couple topics I want to get to before we start going through rants and stuff real quick. Chris, I know you have some great thoughts about this guy. Paul Ingrassia withdraws nomination to lead office at special counsel because he allegedly sent some racially charged text messages. This is a prime example of a little white bitch. And Chris, I wanted to know what your thoughts are.
Well, I mean, if that's actually what caused his withdrawal, that's pathetic. I mean, I've always thought he was pretty good at his job. He seemed to be on the right side of things, and maybe this is just a grand display to show us that the Republican senators can be thrown off by something so minimal. But there are 2 takedown stories that were timed out to precede his Senate hearings for confirmation. One of them was a kind of nonsense, bullshit sounding story about some sexual harassment that never actually materialized into anything and could not be proven. That was, 10 days or so ago. And then yesterday we had the Politico article with messages that have been held by someone for a really long time. So immediately you have to understand that they're not holding, when they release those messages, they're not doing it out of some sense of racial justice and to warn the country about, oh, look at the racism that's building in the country. They time it specifically to cause or perhaps to justify the withdrawal of the nomination. Now, I don't know if he's a good guy or a bad guy, but I do know that right now in 2025, if you're unwilling to defend things you say in your text messages, something's really wrong. Now, I'm not saying I don't say anything offensive in my text messages. I'm just saying that I don't say anything I wouldn't be happy for other people to know. If they want to judge me on the messages I write or the things I say on these shows or the things I write, go right ahead. I don't care about the judgments. Okay. Yeah. You have to be willing to stand there and be like, well, yeah, okay, I think that for that reason, if that's a problem for you, well, you're able to use your power of not paying attention to me or not approving of me to battle the thing I say, but I'm not going to not say it. And I'm not going to back down from having said it.
Yeah, honestly, the only reason I ever even knew who this Ingrassi guy was is when he was very defensive of the Andrew Tate brothers back when they were going through their whole Romania sexual assault stuff. And I was like, did this guy get their travel ban lifted? Is that what happened here? It seemed a little weird. But other than that, I mean, I don't give a shit what he texts. Like, I don't care what people say in their private messages. Like, people say things that they wouldn't. Whatever. Who cares?
Isn't it interesting though that now in the last, I think, week or so, we've had 2 Republican text message scandals centering around those kids in the Young Republican Foundation, whatever it was, centering around people making racist comments. And so when you have these public cancel culture media ops, like we saw last week with those kids, like we saw this week with Paul and Gracia, and they are successful at removing these people from the picture or marginalizing them, well, then that is a ramp up to doing it on a more widespread basis and having the cancel culture that people like James Lindsay and his compatriots are trying to create, quote unquote, from the right.
Yeah. We are supposed to get people fired from the jobs when they say mean things online. And that's what happened here with Gracia. So,
yeah. And we've also got the your mom messages going on this week, right? From 2 different instances of
your mom is great again.
But
yeah,
those were like public statements though, right?
Yeah, right. It's just kind of funny that like
that was hilarious.
Gracia is being canceled by you didn't see that? Was it Levitt who responded to a reporter and said your mom gave
I missed that.
Yeah, Caroline Levitt and Stephen Chung.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
They both responded to media inquiries by saying your mom, like when the media was like, where'd you get this information? And they said your mom gave it to us.
Those are my favorite. I love your mom jokes.
Yeah. I know. I was like, this is how Jon Herold would respond to a BuzzFeed inquiry or something.
Well, I did see was it Media Matters or somebody wrote about where it was. Somebody wrote about us.
I made it into that one. I didn't make it into the last one.
There's a new one?
I didn't actually read that article, but
it wasn't Media Matters. It was just some fag on a Substack or something.
Oh, that guy. Oh, yeah. I found out this week that
there another Media Matters
Bill
thing?
Gates owns Badlands Media through Doug Burgum, through me.
Yeah.
And you're also not the real owner.
Yeah, apparently I'm not the real owner anymore. Apparently there's multiple owners that I didn't know about. No,
well, that'll work out for us then, right? If it turns out that we're owned by Bill Gates, if you don't own the company.
Yeah, I could ask Bill. Should I ask Bill Gates for some help with the legal aspect? Like, hey man, you probably got some attorneys. You can help out with this. That fucking retard. Whoever, I don't know who that was that wrote that article, but
you guys got to coordinate your ops. Like you can't never cross the streams, right?
That's true.
If you're running an op about how Badlands doesn't own Badlands, you can't simultaneously run the op about how Badlands owning Badlands is very bad.
Yeah.
And this is why.
2 separate ops.
Right.
Yeah, it's
these
like
NGOs, man. The NGOs, they got their messages mixed up a little bit.
It's like Media Matters has infiltrated and set up shop among the truth community or something.
Yeah. Weird. How would they do that?
Yeah, they could never do that.
Right.
They could never get the funding to incentivize operations like that.
Right.
And if they did do it, we would never find out.
That's true. Well, I don't know. If Discovery right in court,
yeah,
should be able to find some shit out.
Yeah.
Burning Bright, the reference to the Batman movie the other night was so funny.
I don't remember the
Yes,
reference.
you do.
Oh yeah.
Which one?
The one I played on the narrative.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That was good.
Those have been the vibes lately, I feel like.
I agree. Okay, 2 more things I want to get to real quick. Number 1, I want your guys' thoughts on I feel like I already know, but John Brennan being referred for criminal charges for lying to Congress again. Guys, he lied to Congress. Congress is allowed to lie to us whenever they want, but how dare anybody lie to them because they're totally legitimate, and that's like a mortal sin.
I would love to care more about this because I understand that the entire point of the plan is to take down John Brennan, but
Bingo.
But lying to an illegitimate Congress and then being referred to a DOJ that shouldn't exist in most of its functions, that's just nothing as far as I'm concerned. So
Donald Trump is like trying to get $230 million from his own DOJ right now to show you how legitimate it is.
Yeah, that makes more sense than, going overboard about this right now.
Yeah. I call this a half measure. On my show, I spent about at least a half an hour the other day just saying how I'm sick of half measures and quarter spoons. I'm sick of the teaspoons and tablespoons measures that we're getting. I want some full cup shit. And this is a couple teaspoons
2 girls, 1
of
cup.
Accountability. Well, I didn't say
That's
that.
the kind of justice we want.
We want some 2 girls, 1 cup justice.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, I mean, you're probably right. I just, for me this summer, if you kind of tie Solomon and Cash and then Comey and then this together, the actuals are pretty small and inconsequential. But I think the order of operations is interesting. The fact that, these are basically in order, the people that Trump went after narratively first about the Russiagate hoax. So it's like went after Comey, went after Brennan. So I think it's going to be interesting to see if this pattern continues. Like, do we get James Clapper next about, and again, even if these are like dumb process crimes, the order I think is meaningful because I kind of look for what would be the reason of doing this if you're them, if you're the bad guys. I don't know, but when the more interviews Cash goes on and says like this is the beginnings of real accountability, then the more they're tripling down on it.
Yep, I've been saying it since like 2018. So
I thought the timing of this was actually kind of interesting. The fact that you guys probably saw this out of the Pentagon. Pentagon clamps down on military interactions.
That was
with
the next
Congress.
article I was going to share.
Oh, okay, yeah, there you go.
Because I do think this is interesting because do you guys last week, I think it was, or the week before, there's a huge story about the Pentagon putting out a new like procedure or policy that all the news agencies had to sign on to. There's like a 20-page agreement and only one agency signed on, OAN. They happen to be the only agency we know of that fired a reporter for asking like legitimate questions at the Pentagon when they fired Gabby Gachia. But anyway, 30 other agencies like didn't sign on to it. But one section of that agreement was if you knowingly, or I don't remember the exact wording of it, but it's like if you ask any current Pentagon employee for information that you know to be classified or information that they're not allowed to say, then you are potentially a national security risk and can be prosecuted as such. And I was like, that's really interesting. Like why they're going after the press here for asking about information that they know to be classified. And so I was like, they must be going after leakers. Like this is a tactic they use. They're trying to clamp down on leakers with this media thing. And then you get this article in, and they're like, okay, well, not only can you not go after, you can't go after the Pentagon people from the press angle. Also, Army people can only go through one channel now when they're talking to what is this for? This is for Congress, right? Mm-hmm. Because what's another source of leaks? It's from Congress, Adam Schiff. Right. Like we've had so many stories about that. So they clamped it on the press side, and now they're clamping down on the congressional side. And I think that's notable. Like they're shutting down. And the military side. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like from the military specifically, they're clamping down on the press side of it, and on the congressional side. They're still mentioning or keeping whistleblower protections intact, but they're saying everything else has to go through this one specific channel. Anything that goes outside of that is punishable. So yeah, I think it's notable. They've seen the process and they're trying to fix it.
Well, and the reason I brought that up in the context of Brennan is that, in the vacuum that we were kind of talking about, yes, it's nothing. It's a nothing burger, but it's kind of funny because literally the exact thing that we're like, this isn't really anything. It's just lying to Congress. Then the DOD is like, this is now a huge deal going forward if anybody in our personnel does this with Congress. So like obvious, I would think, oh, it's the enemy just kind of trying to paper over what Brennan did, and it's a nothing burger. But ostensibly, this is the Trump guys coming out and saying we're no more leaks to Congress or anything. And it's related. I know Brennan wasn't supposedly leaking to Congress, but obviously he was deploying his narratives through Congress at the time. That's a big part of how all this Russiagate stuff got running.
Well, I think this is separate. Like what the Pentagon is now doing is like every combatant commander had their own like liaison to Congress. Like each one, and there might have even been more than that. It might have just been like everybody could talk to Congress however they wanted to. Now it goes through all one office, so there's only one channel. Brennan, like he was just doing his normal shit. I think he was mostly leaking to the press. But when they brought them in, like him and multiple different people, like came in front of the whatever committees were hot at the time, and they were asking questions about it, and they lied. Like that's what Brennan's in trouble for. You know, his leaks were all through Congress. I wouldn't be surprised if he did the same fucking shit that Comey did in terms of leaking news stories through like an attorney or whatever. I bet he did the same thing. They all do that. But he got caught for lying to Congress for a separate reason. I don't even remember. I didn't look.
Yeah, it's just interesting that the same day, the same couple of days, we've got like DOD official, DOJ official, Congress classified information, and then I know they're not the same, but go ahead, Chris.
Did you see that the Pentagon has also announced that they're going to do the new media press corps thing, much like the White House did. Yeah, and it's the same people. Yeah, I actually sent you that last link in the chat. That's
actually, the first one on there. That's great. Replacing the New York Times.
Tim Pool's the first one.
Washington Post, CBS,
we'll read
NBC.
Sean Parnell's first. That'll make more sense.
Okay. Today, the Department of War, let's go here, is announcing the next generation of the Pentagon Press Corps. We are excited to announce over 60 journalists representing a broad spectrum of new media outlets and independent journalists have signed the Pentagon's media access policy and will be joining the new Pentagon Press Corps. 26 journalists across 18 outlets were among the former Pentagon Press Corps who chose to sign the DOW or war media access policy. New media outlets and independent journalists have created the formula to circumvent the lies of the mainstream media and get real news directly to the American people. The reach and impact collectively are far more effective and balanced than the self-righteous media who chose to self-deport from the Pentagon. Americans have largely abandoned digesting their news through the lens of activists who masquerade as journalists in the mainstream media. We look forward to beginning a fresh relationship with members of the new Pentagon Press Corps.
These are internet influencers that masquerade as journalists.
Tim Pool, Jim Hoff, Jack.
Not all influencers. Hashtag.
TPUSA, so Adam Colvett or whatever. Raheem Kassam?
Yep, Raheem.
Post Millennial. That's
It's the one CanCon's been fighting with lately.
Post Millennial is also Jack Posobiec.
Is it? Oh yeah, that's right. Washington Reporter, Red State.
Well, it's like a combination of Jack Posobiec and Tim Pool in the form of Libby Emmons, I think.
Tenant Media without the Russia money.
It is funny that some of them are part of this thing. I would guess that Benny Johnson's got to be in there as well.
Oh, I'm sure. Federalist. I actually don't mind the Federalist sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't see Benny Johnson, but he's gonna be in there. Crazy, man.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be
Crazy
interesting
shit.
to go through the I don't know if that's a public agreement, the press corps agreement.
Yeah,
It'd be
the 20
interesting to go through it and be like, would we sign this? Because I bet the answer is no.
well, probably wouldn't sign much of anything, but
Yeah.
I'd have to ask Bill Gates first. But other than that, I did go through it though. The other day, it didn't seem that bad. Like one of the things was you had to wear not only did you have to wear your normal press badge, but you had to have one other one that was like super prominent and like easy to see, so people could tell that you were press. You couldn't go to like the third floor B wing room 210 to 240 or whatever, because that's where all the super important people are. You can't go there. Then you can only go to a certain place with an escort, not like the fun kind, but like somebody escorting you around, like those kind of things.
It's a good defensive measure against Pentagon employees saying, "Oh, I didn't know that person was a journalist."
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
point.
that's true.
Yeah, they're really
Kind of
trying to clamp down on
prophylactic.
leaks.
Yeah, what you said earlier too, John, about the leakers aspect of what the Pentagon's doing. I think it actually weirdly reminds me of the segment about the nationalization of these private companies. Like these things that on the surface were like, I don't really like that. But when you reframe it as dealing with enemy combatants in two areas, one, the media itself, which again is the first enemy that Trump declared in 2015, and then two, the Pentagon, right? Mm-hmm. Because it's both sides. It's like, the press corps is being singled out, but also the Pentagon officials, DOD officials, are who, personnel rather, is who the new sort of communications directive is aimed at. So one way of looking at that is defending Pentagon officials from a hostile media. Another way of looking at that is making sure that Pentagon personnel who are deep state can't get their shit out there, or if they do, they get caught.
Yeah, I mean, also though, replacing the old media with the new media, when the new media is just Con Inc., like that's not a improvement.
Yeah, he like says the mainstream media and then presents us with mainstream media.
Well, if you want to put a white pill on it, you could say this is a new red binders, and we're just going to turtles all the way down to our earlier conversation, but in the form of various red binder incidents. Like we're going to have a new press pool every 6 months that is then exposed as not being.
Wait, do you mean the Epstein binders?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like basically, are those guys, I mean, maybe it's just unbiased and didn't like them going into that op, but it feels like their reputation, even among different layers than us, is not good on the back of the Epstein op.
No.
So one wonders if the new super serious press corps is going to actually start catching some flack in the info war for not reporting on things.
I don't know, guys. There was one more story. Actually, that might have been it. Yeah, that was the last story.
Fine.
I'm sick of talking about it. Do you think they're going to allow, like, I don't remember there being a thing in there about you can't wear beanies. Like, I think beanies are still allowed, which is disappointing. Right. But we'll figure it out. How about this? Let's do a quick soft disclosure promo, and then we can go to boosts and rants. So I feel like we got a few of them tonight.
Fine.
You guys down?
Yeah.
All right.
Before skincare went synthetic, people used something simple, something real. Tallow. Grass-fed and finished beef tallow is packed with vitamins A, D, E, and K. Nutrients your skin actually knows what to do with. It locks in moisture, restores elasticity, and defends against winter dryness. No water, no preservatives, and no BS. Unlike plant oils or chemical creams, tallow mimics your skin's own structure. Elbows, hands, knees, post-shave, anywhere your skin's crying for real moisture. Perfect for gifting or keeping your own skin soft when the cold hits. Visit softdisclosure.com and use promo code Badlands for 15% off. Ancient care, modern truth.
Softdisclosure. Softdisclosure.com. Chris, did you want to talk about your True Social post?
I mean, we can.
I feel like I'd leave it.
Kind of seems timely, but what?
You feel I was going to say, I feel like I should leave it up to Bernie Wright since I don't care. I'm down.
I'm down.
Let's do it. Pull it up, Chris.
Okay. I'm so super almost there.
I had it up. I could have assisted here. I just thought you'd have your own posts ready to go.
Yeah, you would think that. But I didn't. Here it is.
It's okay. One of my favorite subgenres of Chris is his commentary while he looks for things that he should have had.
Well, should I read it?
Yeah.
I hope it's not too long.
It would be the most authentic.
That's what she said.
Okay. There is no version of victory in the information war that does not include widespread ability to avoid getting hoodwinked. Unfortunately, people in the so-called truth community spend their time groveling as hard as they can before politicians, TV characters, high follower count accounts on legacy social media, and anonymous characters on the internet, which is the definition of being hoodwinked. They do all this to acquire social credit and fiat tokens online by monopolizing your attention to their perpetual grovel. The fact that this will offend some people is proof of its truth. Who are these people protecting? With the proliferation of bots and grovelers, and those for whom they grovel don't even have to be real people. Sorry, with the proliferation of bots, the grovelers and those for whom they grovel don't even have to be real people. The point is not getting hoodwinked at all. Since that is impossible, the goal is to practice not getting hoodwinked at all the time. Instead, we have people using Kabbalistic numerology for divination and idolizing a character, one they don't know, as the all-knowing savior of the world while pretending to prophecy and using gematria to prove the anonymous internet account is actually God. And I really saw a decode of that like 2 weeks ago.
Very recently, yeah.
Yep.
Jeez.
And naturally, any dispute over this is deemed treasonous to the quote unquote unity of the tribe. It's worth noting that breaking unity is a tool liars use to make an emotional appeal to unity in service of one side or point of view, which would otherwise lose. In 20th century China, they called this a struggle session.
Here, watch them show you, and I bet your replies were full of them. I love that last.
It was surprisingly silent because I think that post was probably well suppressed.
I love how you ended that, especially. I mean, everything you said, the whole post was great, but the end of the whole unity thing, we've been kind of hammering this. I know we did a lot of it on Sunday on the narrative, but this is something that we've been like up against for a while. People who, when we've been pretty hard about, or pretty, maybe not closed off. I don't even know the right word or how to describe it, but we've been trying to just do our thing, focus on our thing, keep plugging forward. We haven't had all the right people in here. Some people left, some people, whatever. And we got like this, we were the bad guys, right? Like we were in the wrong somehow from the crowd that just wanted unity, right? That's all they wanted was unity with us. That's all they want. We just all want to get along and be friends, when it turns out like, yeah, you didn't actually want you were just trying to like fuck us over the whole time under the disguise of unity. And that's all bullshit. That's bullshit. The unity argument is such bullshit. And Chris, go ahead. Your post.
Yeah, it's just a coercion to get people to censor themselves. It is a function of the regime censorship efforts. You guys are saying something that will break unity. Well, if the thing that we're saying is going to break the unity we have, because the thing that we are saying is more compelling. And then it's an appeal to the authority of the plan or the op or to Q or to Trump or whoever, that we have to ape the thing that person is saying because we're supposed to unify around that. Well, no, we're not supposed to unify around any of those things. We're supposed to unify around the morally right and correct things, or else not at all. The idea that we have to move away from something moral, away from something correct, away from the truth and the things that we believe in order to move to a position that we don't have any of that or because of unity is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, to that point, it's sort of you've said various versions of this, Chris, for a few years, but essentially nothing can stop the plan except fill in ... Nothing can stop the plan. Nothing can stop what's coming. Except people saying things that they believe, right? Nothing can stop the plan except for people thinking for themselves. I had mentioned this on Sunday night, and I've mentioned it a lot. Just because I don't think you have to be a Q person to be a truther or an InfoWar person or a sovereign American or somebody of value. But the reason I often bring up that the most read article I ever wrote, I still stand by, is called We Are Q. It was how the Q drops affected me and how they engaged me. The reason I bring that up in context is to say that people like me have been attacked by the same unity crowd, right? So it could be one thing if they were only attacking an out group of non-Q people, but part of again, the most popular thing I ever had, the most viral thing I ever had was all about my belief in the drops. And I also, I don't know if I said this, I think I said this privately, but, you know, we have Q shows on the network right now. We've got Brad Alpha and Josh Reed doing a couple of great shows, and I've watched bits of them. Brad had a fantastic Sovereign Alliance dig last week. That was great. But what I was trying to think, you know, what is it about these shows that I find that is different from the Unity struggle sessions? And besides kind of earnest presentation, I think it's actually pretty simple. I find that most Q content online, or plan content, is trying to prove that Q is real, or that there is a plan. But it doesn't spend a lot of time trying to determine what the plan is, or what we should do in relation to it. And what I liked about Alpha's, Josh's, and Brad's shows is that it's the opposite. It's taking the conception of a plan and the framework that the Q drops laid out and saying, what do we think they were trying to tell us about the current battle space, and how can we use that to inform our understanding and what we should do moving forward? And that was always my interpretation of what the plan was an activation kind of module. And, you know, it's either that I misinterpreted it, and Brad did, and Jordan did, and a lot of these OG Q people that are cast now as pariahs in the Q community, which is the height of irony. We just said Jordan did his whole talk at the saloon there on Q, and he was the first Q digger online, very literally and provably. He has the receipts of decoding Trump's, the storm coming, the infamous storm quote that Trump made. Jordan has the video of him decoding that before the drops. He was decoding it as a comm, and then a few weeks later, the drops hit, and he connected it to his decode of what Trump was saying. And that's a guy that the Q community right now, or the people that have branded themselves as the Q community, cast as a pariah. And the only reason is that I think people like Jordan and Brad actually took what the drops were saying, and many people in our audience, and took them to heart and followed them, rather than just getting stuck in a communist struggle session forever about not disrupting Unity and not disrupting the plan, while also not trying to figure out what it is.
Yeah, you said doo-doo, by the way. When
you
did that rant. Yeah,
I did. You're right.
You did. And that was probably the highlight for me.
But that's the last Unity rant we'll ever go on.
I doubt it. We'll see. We'll see if every time we get a DM from one of those people about how offended they are by us existing.
Every day.
Every day.
Just about.
Anyway, let's go through the boosts, the rants, and then I'll play the old DPH video for the outro. How's that sound?
Yeah.
Brain Brett, you got the boost?
The boost? Yeah, I do. We had a few come in. Let me see. We had Dandel Signor, 4435, $50. Hey guys, first time booster. I've been a silent supporter from before Badlands was launched. My wife and I listen to an embarrassing amount of shows on a weekly basis, but all on replay because our 3 daughters are young. Many thanks from Pennsylvania.
Thank you. And I will say there's no amount of Badlands shows you could watch that you should be embarrassed about.
Right.
If anything, you should be embarrassed about that being your first time, like, get in the chat or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
Don't be shy. Come say hi.
S. Connor 2020, $500.
Wow.
Show and support for all that everyone does here at Badlands. Thank you to John and all for sharing your ideas. Shout out to my buds from Be Reasonable, Jay Drake, cool show you got there, Polymathonon, Doom Chick, Bay, Beachbound, Brain, et al.
Wow.
That's Chris's insurrection within the insurrection, I believe.
Yeah. Love those.
Chris Paul Maximus. Thank you very much. That is extraordinarily generous.
I think by the time everything is all said and done, you're on the wrong side of things if you're not a Chris Paul maximalist. I feel like that's where this is heading.
Just turtles all the way down. Either way.
Guess we'll find out.
Yeah.
Shelly Kyle, $30. This is my first boost, though I've watched since the start after John's show Friday. I felt compelled to support Badlands. I never could stand Yeah. Never could stand somebody. Badlands just keeps getting better. Fight. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Much appreciated. Awake in Mass, $30. So grateful for all Badlands. So glad I found you years ago. Thank you. I did see their most recent New Englanders meetup was like way out in Western Mass. We weren't going to that. And the next one is in Plymouth, which is pretty close to me. So they're like dangling the bait out. Trying to get the Brights there.
The New York, New Jersey Badlands group, they're meeting during GART. Like you guys could just come to GART. That'd be cool too.
Well, we've also been told that the people who run the New Jersey Badlanders group do not like Badlands media. So
I think this might be a separate one.
You sure?
I don't know.
My
they left me a rant today advertising it. So I don't want to lump everybody into that group because I feel like it's not everybody.
No, it's not everybody. Just certain somebody's.
Right.
Hashtag not all.
Yep. What else? Lionheart, $100. Good evening, guys. John, I can relate personally. Someday, if we ever meet, I'll fill you in, and I am praying for you and the Badlands family daily. Truth is all that matters. Stand for something, or you'll fall for anything. God bless.
Thank you, Lionheart.
Thank you, Lionheart.
If we meet someday at a GART, that'd be cool. Just come to GART.
Joe Biden's football, $10. You can get a good look at a Moscato by sticking your head down in the treading, but wouldn't you rather take the Mashgiash's word for it? I don't know what any of that means. I don't know what a Moscato is.
Isn't that a Tommy Boy quote? Like you can get a good look at a T-bone by sticking your head up a cow's ass, but wouldn't you rather take the butcher's word for it or something?
Well, Joe Biden's football's always got something.
He's got some weird wisdom, but like it's powerful.
I'm not quite there. Yeah.
I feel like it should be on a t-shirt or something, probably.
KT, $150. I heard my 3 favorite Badlanders would be together. Appreciate all you do to bring clarity, perspective, and laughter into the conversation. Thank you, KT. Thank you, guys. I mean, crazy generous. Much appreciated. Rocky Top Apologist, $40. There's so much I could say to you people because you're my people, but suffice to say, happy anniversary. Much appreciated, Rocky. 1027JS, $20. Hello, guys. Catch you on DPH.
Thank you, Joe. I'm a fellow North Dakotan.
LCRA Will, $50. Congrats on 400. Really appreciate you guys. Much appreciated. Don't think I've seen you either. Christy Noel, $17. I love when you three collaborate.
Thank you, Kristen.
Stop, collaborate, and listen. What's the next line?
Ice is back with a brand new invention.
Nice.
You guys should just keep going back and forth. See how long the rap goes.
That's all I got.
I am prepared for that.
I was a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 maximalist.
That song was in there.
A little scary.
I was a Vanilla Ice maximalist.
Nice.
Were you really?
A man of culture.
I mean, no, but I was a teenager at the time that song became the biggest rap song ever.
Yeah, I mean, I even remember that song. I could probably rap the whole thing, but I'm just not going to.
I'm not going to on air, but I will as soon as I get off.
Back when we ruled the streets. We invented the rap game until it was culturally appropriated from Vanilla Ice.
There was also a boost for the whole company, $100 GS Bailey, longtime listener, lurker, and watcher. Badlands has been a great source of encouragement for me these past 3 years. I encourage you, particularly John, to read Psalm 57, verse 1 through 3.
I'll do that.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Very, very generous the last week.
Yeah. And I'll go through the rants here, but first I want to play that Tommy Boy clip.
Of course I understand what no means. But if I took no for an answer, I'd probably wind up on a street corner selling spicy hot dogs and wearing a funny hat, right? It makes sense, doesn't it?
Look, I've been doing business with Callahan since I hung out my shingle. But I don't like you. Probably never will. You're a smug, unhappy little man, and you treat people like they were idiots.
Mr. Brady, you and my dad go way back.
Son, I was sorry to hear about your dad. I was. But before I decide to keep my business with your place, I'd have to come by and have a look at your new operation.
Hey, I tell you what, You can take a good look at a butcher's ass by sticking your head up there, but wouldn't you rather take his word for it?
What? I'm failing to make the connection here, son.
No, I mean, you can get a good look at a T-bone by sticking your head up a butcher's ass, but then, no, it's got to be your bull.
Wow.
Here's the deal. If I want you...
You have derailed.
Shut up, Richard.
Boy, I'm really at a loss for words here.
Forget it, I quit. I can't do this anymore, man. My head's about to explode. My whole life sucks. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know where I'm going. My dad just died. We just killed Bambi. I'm out here getting my ass kicked, and every time I drive down the road, I want to jerk the wheel into a goddamn bridge embankment.
Love that movie.
Oh,
So
that's
good.
a good one. We got to do that sometime. We'll work it in.
Should. Okay, let's go through. We got quite a few rants here tonight. So $50 from Bruder Mark 71. Congrats on 400. Sorry, can't be watching live. Wake up at 2:45 a.m. for work. I will watch in the a.m. Badlands is
Standard Time.
Yeah, 2:45 a.m. Badlands Standard Time, which is, I think it has to be Central Time, by the way.
Yeah, that's 7
Which
p.m.
is 7
Badlands
p.m.
Standard Time.
Badlands is an amazing creation in the community. You guys rock. Keep up the amazing work. Thank you, Bruder Mart. Boom Diggity for $400. Thank you so much. Says, congratulations on your 400th episode. Thank you all for your hard work and commitment to providing amazing content, stellar shows, as well as an amazing community for us retards and super nerds. Thank you for that rant.
Thank you,
great.
Boom.
Yeah.
Freedom 145 says, happy 400th episode. Thank you. Barely 45 says, congrats, fellas. Here's to a few hundred more. Much love. Thank you, Barely. Susie Q20. I'm African gray parrot is going to end up learning the word fuck.
Yeah.
I think she
You got
meant
one of
say
those?
my.
Huh.
I used to go to a card store, a trading card store, and there was an African gray parrot there that was very silly. I used to talk to it.
Was that your like first friend or something?
Yeah. Felt like there was a real understanding there. Yeah. Baby Bright's first words tonight. We officially decided, and
Patel?
Mrs. Bright was the one who said it,
Patel?
that it was an official word.
What was it?
Dada.
Patel?
Dada. And
no way.
he
No
was,
way she would let you get away with that.
She'll confirm. She's asleep now, but she's the one who said it.
How come
I didn't
you-
want to say it because he's been babbling. So it was like, all right, we can't count any of this. But he was babbling with entirely different sounds. And then I walked by him on the way to the dinner table, and he looked at me and said, Dada. And when I turned back, he started laughing, and he did it again. So she said it was his official first word.
Wow. Are we sure he was talking about you?
No. I'm saying we said, according to official Bright source documentation, it has now been codified.
All right. Good for you.
But anyway. Yeah. It's cool.
AJC3 for $50 says, congratulations on 400. Thank you, AJC. Great supporter. These many years. You're amazing. Mean Gerb, congrats for $50 says, I've never missed a show. Hope you have many more years of success. I wonder how many people can say they've never missed a show. 400 of them. That's a lot. Going back to September, August of 2021. It's a long time. Secrets for $20 for the boys and Burning Bright. I like the distinction there. Thank you, Secrets. Cam Cooksey for $17. If it weren't for the Devolution Power Hour, I'd probably be asking for reparations from my government. Kidding. But thank you for being you, Jon Herold. Love you, man. Thank you. Love you too,
You're
Cam.
never getting that shit, Cam. You had to rebrand quick when Trump got in there.
I think I want my
See what you're doing.
reparations.
He was ahead of the curve, though. He got on the boat before. Well, he got off the boat, and then he got back on a different boat. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Okay. Artist says, I wanted to send $17, but I'm retarded and this app only lets me send 10 or 20. Yet Cam was able to send 17 somehow. Thanks and congrats, you three. I'm grateful for the $3 error in our favor, though. Thank
There's
you.
a lot of cope in the chat of moms being like, babies usually say dada before mama.
I feel like that
because
is
it's
something women
easier.
would say.
That they all say it's easier to say. And it's like, is it just that babies like dad better? Because
Probably.
dad's like, funny and silly. I don't know.
We did hear the Japanese prime minister or whatever say that women are basically the worst.
Right.
Oh, that's what I was going to say earlier. We have, you said Trump of Japan, and you know how we have like Trump of the tropics? I think how we can merge our two ideas is Tamagotchi Trump. That's how we refer to her.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, I forgot to say it earlier, but now it fit. I was able to fit it in. Julie JN, good to see you, Julie. Congratulations on episode 400. Love you guys in the Badlands family. Thank you for building this community and for everyone's research and smarts. Thank you. $50 from Andy Artist says, love DPH. This is a great Wednesday with Chris Paul. This gal's heart is smiling.
Thanks.
My heart smiles when I talk to Chris too. I don't, but just my heart.
I feel like it's probably something you should tell your cardiologist about. AOB22 says, congratulations on show 400, but you're missing sombreros and culturally appropriate clothing, amigos. Maybe. VRush51, great show as usual. $5, thank you. $20 from Bear BL. Congratulations on 400 episodes. I've watched all live or the next day.
Wow.
Look at you. Congrats. Congrats to you for suffering through 400 episodes of this.
Nobody on this panel has seen all 400 episodes of the DPH.
I've tuned into at least all 400 episodes.
Have you?
Yeah.
Like
Even when I haven't,
even
when I haven't been on the few times, I've tuned in to make sure there's no bright directions going on.
I've tuned into most of the ones I've been on.
I've been present for the ones I've been on with Bernie Bread. Some of the times I tune completely out, though, for sure.
Right, that doesn't count.
Gigi with Attitude says, way to go, DPH. Thank you. We got a $500 rant from Ash75 Nelly. Thank you so much. Congrats. I've been following John since he posted the first article. I was so lost in the fog of 2020 and the series gave me hope. Please have Alpha re-record the audio for every Devolution series. That was
a great idea.
Not a bad idea. I think we'll do that.
Alpha's got a new calling, and Chris and I said that last night. I mean, silk. Silk with a bit of gravel.
Yeah.
Do we have an AI Alpha voice that we can just plug the text into and have it produce us a reading in Alpha's voice?
I kind of want him to just read it himself, but I do want to go in first and like put in a bunch of random, really hard words so I can hear him like try to struggle through it.
Thank you, Ash. That's very generous again.
Very generous.
Thank you.
Cam Cooksey for $9. That's a really random amount.
Yeah.
Says John solved the beef that killed Tupac and Biggie with one time zone. That's how I know Diddy is a Fed informant. USA Badlands time, which is USA BT for peace. It's interesting.
Damn straight. Controlled oppo dynamic. Tupac and Biggie.
Escape the Matrix 91 says contribution to the whiteboard fund. There we go.
Nice.
Look at that. We're well on our way now.
Now Mrs. Bright can't say no.
She can't
There
say no.
will be one person who's like, where do I get my whiteboard? Where do I pick up my whiteboard?
I bet people bring whiteboards too. I bet people are going to bring some.
Yeah.
But we definitely do. And Tattoo Teacher says, happy 400th episode. Thank you, Tattoo Teacher. Looking forward to seeing you at GART. Which, by the way, guys, badlandsmedia.tv/events. Get your tickets, whether in person or virtual. Cam Cooksey for $2. He's just all over the map with his amounts tonight. I fuck with whiteboards. Went to high school with a bunch of them. I never trusted the ladies that told me to write on them. Felt like a trap.
He's always bringing up race.
The right kind of paranoid.
Yeah. Not Surprised 42 says, congratulations on 400 episodes of mostly pure wisdom and loads of laughs. Thank you for my sanity and your service to freedom. Thank you. Hatch Brew says, I've been watching since the pre-Badlands days, well before BB was nothing but a pulsating tiger eye. Fuck the haters, keep on. But in all seriousness, you guys should be more brave like Candace Owens. How does one be more brave like Candace Owens? I don't even know what that means. Keith O'Higgins says, oh, here we go. Keith O'Higgins' train is starting. Only imagine. Keith O'Higgins, seeing Vance and his wife Usha in Israel today, I felt bad for second gentleman and nanny chaser Doug Emhoff. I hate that he was replaced by H1B1 holder. Should probably outsource our poop bombs.
Mm.
Off to a good start, Keith. VP Nichols, did I hear BB correctly? Japan has an Asian problem?
I don't remember saying that, but I won't disavow it because it is definitely something I would probably say.
And it's not necessarily incorrect.
Right.
Patrick J17, this is for BB finishing our Irish pissing contest from Sunday when I said my son is almost walking. He takes 2 steps from the couch to a chair. That's not just standing up.
I was like, yeah. I was like, what a nice message. And I was like, mine's already way more powerful than yours at a fraction of the age. No, it's fun. I mean, they're awesome.
Have you met his baby?
Boys are awesome. No, I assume he's awesome.
Boys are fun.
Yeah, boys are fucking. They're great.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine having a little girl now. I assumed I was going to have a girl for some reason the whole time.
I assumed that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
For you.
Then, it was a boy. And now that he's just like doing more stuff, I'm like, what would a girl be doing at this age?
I will say, and I've said this before, I'm pretty sure I've said it on air too, that I had the boy first, right?
Yeah.
Thought, oh man, nothing could be better. And then I had the girl, and I was like, if I have more kids, I would want girls from here on out.
You think it's easier?
I don't know what it is. It's just it's a little easier. I mean, it was easier up front, and she was a daddy's girl the whole time, and still is. It's definitely gotten a lot more like
iffy.
I wouldn't say iffy. Just it's not easy being the dad to a daddy's girl because I can't say no, and that has caused some problems. I will admit.
And she's figured that out.
Oh yeah. She's got that nailed down. But yeah, I don't know. They're both great. Can't go wrong.
Yeah.
Where are we at? Miss Rhea Freedom Fighter says, congratulations on 400 episodes.
Thank you.
Keith O'Higgins says, if you're owned by Bill Gates, John, can't you get Clippy a show working with Trump on Spellbreakers? Clippy a show. Who's Clippy? Oh, is that the Microsoft paperclip?
Maybe.
Probably. Sparrow64, congratulations and thank you. Thank you. You'll never know the difference you guys have made in my life. I'm forever grateful. Thank you, Sparrow64.
Thank you.
By the way, the Bill Gates thing we're referring to is somebody is claiming that we're owned by Bill Gates through Doug Burgum because Doug Burgum is part of a North Dakota Badlands Media LLC group or something. But the Badlands Media LLC that I own and solely owned and solely funded is through Wyoming because North Dakota didn't have Badlands Media available. Kind of.
So we tried to take over the Doug Burgum, Bill Gates, Badlands. What is that noise?
I think it's the dog snoring.
It could be you can hear my dog snoring.
Yeah.
That's my dog snoring.
For such a diminutive fella.
He is very small.
Yeah. That's funny. How's he doing?
He's fantastic.
Don't ask questions about his dog.
Oh, yeah.
Ask questions about the dog.
Just don't ask his name.
I know he had a shout out to Ash, by the way. Very sad day for Ash.
Oh yeah.
She was talking about it, but that is the worst, Ash.
Curse you, Ash.
Yeah.
I dread that
Condolences. Day. Yes.
That was the worst.
Condolences.
Peyton Pooh says, I still get my news here. Come visit Colorado Springs for a GART. If you have location suggestions, just email our event coordinator. She loves those.
Well, speaking of Ash, she has not done a good job of selling us on Colorado. Just like, once you wade through the swamp-infested deep state travesty.
And fly into the airport that's like possessed by the devil with all the demonic shit around there.
Right.
Political Caviar says, congratulations on 400 and thank you for all you guys do. Thanks to Bay Theater Dave for always bringing the welcoming energy to the chat. Been here since day one and look forward to another 400. Thank you for that.
Good, good taste in movies, that fella.
And he's got good taste in chatters. We had a great chat group. Dak 8869, good to see you. Says we're supposed to explain to Cece what cake is really about in BB's words, please. I love when BB talks about cake.
Yeah,
Go for it.
I think the first rant I went on about the cake was all about Rogue from the X-Men as a young man, the animated X-Men series. she had the cake, and there was a 2023 remake or sequel of the X-Men animated series, and Rogue did not have cake in that one, and it caused quite the stir among original X-Men fans. So, you know, the cake is the cake.
Just Urban Dictionary.
Is the okay, so it is code language for something.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Back quarters.
That's
a
what
mask guy is what it's really all about.
Thank you for making it explicit.
You're welcome.
It's
kind of my thing. I just I move around it for a while and then I just go straight in, right?
That is what she said.
Congratulations.
Let's move
Brain
on.
Bright. Are you sure you're done talking about this? Anything left unsaid? You don't want to leave things unsaid.
I don't like doing butt stuff in that way, but I like butts.
You like
right?
cake.
Like I just want to be clear.
And you cannot lie.
Yeah,
those other
just 'cause
brothers
you're-
can't deny.
Just
When
because
a
you're into
girl
cake
walks
doesn't
in
mean
with
you're
an
a full
itty
degenerate.
bitty waist and a round thing in your face, you get sprung.
I do.
Is that
That's
what you
the
were
way it
trying to
goes.
say?
Yep.
Would you say you like to have your cake and eat it too?
Oh, geez.
You could say that. You know,
That's
and
something that the Zoomers really caught on to a few years ago, right?
yeah, they are degenerates.
Rising pink eye too. It's all correlated, guys. Okay, let's move on now. Bammer Girl 2560 says, "Thank you, Badlands. I'm in awe of your knowledge and courage as you share truth and theories, and more recently, your fight for justice. John, you had a great crew. You got this." I feel like that was a great rant to follow up what we were just talking about.
Very up and down the last 5 minutes. Just you know.
Nancy K. Reese says, "The work you guys are doing is truly unique." For $100, by the way. Thank you. Truly unique and valuable. The whole media group is a treasure. Thank you for everything you do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Keith Higgins for $1 says he's not your kid till he says bicameral.
Yeah,
that's true.
Well, this should be a reminder for me. The fact that he's trying to start saying stuff is I have been told I swear way more than I thought I did, honestly, and so I gotta, I guess, be careful about that.
It's not a problem until they get to school and start repeating it there.
Yeah.
So you're good.
Otherwise, it'll be funny for
a
at
while.
first.
Yeah. I feel like kindergarten's probably funny too. But like once you start like moving up, then it probably becomes an issue.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, last one here from Cece says, "Can you bring me a slice of pumpkin cake when you come upstairs?" Essentially, we were
That's
just
not how
talking about cake.
Works. Cake is supposed to be the inverse.
Well, she's talking. My mom brought over actual pumpkin cake
Now
tonight.
you're making it weird. Don't bring your mom into a cake conversation, man.
Well, I'm talking about real cake, not your like weird comic book cake that you were getting into. This is actual delicious pumpkin cake. But yes, I will do
pie
that.
is disgusting.
It's not pumpkin pie.
cake?
It's pumpkin cake. Have you ever had carrot cake?
Pumpkin anything is gross. Yeah.
Have you had carrot
Those
cake?
are fighting words.
I think carrot cake's kind of not as bad as pumpkin flavored things, but also not good. Like if you were to eat a carrot, you would never be like, make more things out of this.
Have you had carrot cake though?
Yeah.
It's so good.
It's not that bad, but it's only because it's been turned into something good, where you could just have something that's already good and make it into something better.
You need to treat yourself to a good carrot cake.
All right. I'll get Mrs. Bright on it. She's becoming a baking maximalist. So maybe if she makes a real one.
You know, after all your cake discussion tonight, I feel like I can't trust your judgment on cake generally.
I actually don't like cake. That's the irony.
Oh,
That's
weird.
the reveal.
Oh,
I like a very specific kind.
whatever, man. Anyway, what we're gonna do is we're gonna close out the show with an old throwback DPH clip, and we'll go from there. You guys, thank you for joining for the 400th episode. Thank you all for tuning in for the 400th episode. Can't believe it's been 400, but what a fun ride.
Crazy.
It's been quite the roller coaster. But
And
thanks,
we
man.
will be here at 500.
Hopefully, maybe under new ownership, depending how things go in court. But
It'll be the 500th episode of something.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks everybody. Hit that thumbs up. I'll be back on tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern for 12 p.m. Badlands Standard Time for the Daily Herald. Chris, you're back on
I'll
Saturday.
be on Friday morning with Brian for Daily, and then, yeah, I'll see you Saturday night.
Yep. Bernie Bright, you'll be back on Sunday, right?
Yes, I believe with Zach.
There you go.
Zachary
Awesome.
Payne.
Nice.
Cool. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time. Okay. Any final comments on that? And otherwise, we can talk a little bit about the announcement thing here.
Let's do it. Let's do the announcement.
Okay. So, I've kind of felt guilty to my audience, right? I mean, there's a huge audience that tunes in live during the Power Hour, but not just that. I have 100,000 subscribers on Rumble, and then I only do shows 2, sometimes 3 times a week, and sometimes I'm busy. I only do 1 show a week. Same thing with Substack, right? I've been of the mindset that I don't like to put stuff out unless there's a lot of meat on the bone, and so I don't put out a lot of articles. But I have 100,000, total subscribers. Not all paying subscribers. A very small fraction of that is paid, but again, nothing's behind a paywall. But a lot of subscribers who don't get much content from me, and so I had the idea of I'm going to start bringing on good people that I trust, that I like, that I know are going to be honest, and that they're full of integrity, and they're people that my audience seems to like as well. People like you guys, and we're going to start filling up the show and bringing the community together, especially on Rumble, but also by putting out content on Substack much more often. So I'm pretty sure we got it set up so that every day of the week, at least one time every day of the week, there will be a show on this channel. And then as we go, like the live show will be done on Patel Patriots Rumble channel, and it'll be switched over. So the replay will be viewed on, we're calling it Badlands Media, because I'm a North Dakota guy. Badlands Media. It's going to be on the Badlands Media channel. And there's going to be a Badlands Substack as well, where people can send stuff out. With that, I'm for sure doing a new show every Monday starting tomorrow. I'm going to be doing a show with Red Pill 78. We haven't fully settled on a name yet, but you'll be able to tune in tomorrow night to see that. But I may even have enough where like 3 or 4 days of the week we'll have 2 shows back to back. So like we'll have almost like a 8 o'clock and a 9:30 or whatever. We'll figure it out as we go a little bit, but you guys will be able to tune into this channel almost every night and get some sort of content from good people. And another reason I'm doing this is because I believe that not only are like people like Chris Ball and Patrick and other people that I'm bringing on very talented and deserve to have more eyes on them, but I also believe that like none of these people should be struggling for financially. Like we need to take over the mainstream media, and I believe we can be successful doing it. And it's help. I'm trying to help other people and content creators in this community to get ahead and thrive in this as well. So I think that about covers the majority of the announcement. I mean, do you guys have any comments you want to add to it?